What is up, my beat sorcerers? Welcome back and welcome to the 20 Podcast, bringing you interviews with the best DJs, producers, and music industry professionals from around the globe. I am your host, DJ Spider. That's right. Make some noise. What up, you guys? Thank you for being here. I hope you had a good week. Hope you had a good weekend. I know I did. I got to DJ Friday night in Hollywood at the Flow Room. Amazing crowd there. Saturday, I was in Austin, did some crazy company party that I did not think would get that insane. But thank you to everybody that was there. Sunday, headed out to Jersey Shore, did DJs in the Belmar, Jersey Shore, and then Monday got to hang in New York. And now I'm back here with you guys recording. Hit up my Instagram at DJ Spider, DJ SPIDER, to see what shows I'm doing, or my website, DJ Spider, DEEJAYSPIDER.com, to keep up on all my stuff. Thank you guys for all the support. Hit me online. Thank you for all the messages. I love keeping in touch with you, and I really appreciate all the messages you guys send me in person and in online and all that. And before we get into it, I gotta let you know, as always, this podcast is brought to you by Beatsource. Thank you to Beatsource for letting us bring this to the people week after week. Make sure you try out Beatsource Link, where you can DJ using songs online from the cloud. We've got expertly curated playlists made by amazing DJs that are made for specific events that I utilize, and I know a lot of other DJs utilize. We got custom-made edits and all types of stuff. Make sure you try it out for yourself, beatsource.com. And now let us get into the show. I got to tell you about today's incredible guest. When I found out who today's guest was, I was, happy, nervous, all of it, because this person is someone I've looked up to for a long time and I'm a huge fan of. This person is born and raised in Los Angeles, California. He is a legend among legends, a master among masters, an expert among experts, all that. I mean, he's someone that has really added so much to hip-hop and DJ culture through his life, along with his DJ crew, the Beat Junkies. They're people I've looked up to, and I'm so honored to actually know nowadays. So he's been a DJ on K-Day and some of LA's top radio stations and mix shows. He's done TV shows with Quincy Jones and Jimmy Iovine. He's been in some of the most prestigious DJ battles that have ever been held, and he's won them. He's held down Las Vegas residencies at places like Body English after DJ AM himself brought him in and recommended that he follows him as the new resident. He has a huge community of people that support his online streaming shows on Twitch. He runs a successful DJ school in person and online, along with his brothers, the DJ crew, the Beat Junkies. They have a record pool. He's performed alongside amazing artists such as No Doubt, James Brown, Eminem, NWA, Aaliyah, LMFAO, Ludacris, and Katy Perry. He's done A-list parties for people like Jennifer Lopez, the Kardashians, and Paris Hilton. And really, he's one of the most skilled DJs on the planet. And I'm saying that with no question, no doubt. I mean, you guys, if you ask any DJ, they will tell you the same thing. He's a DJ's DJ. His work ethic is incredible. He still practices nonstop to this day, which he tells you about on this episode. He's an amazing poker player. He's a beer aficionado. He's a father. He's a husband. And he's really an all-around great person that has inspired many across the globe. And we are lucky to have him on the show today. So please give it up for DJ Melo-D. All right, we are here. It's the 20 Podcast.
Yes.
And we are here with DJ Melo-D. Give it up. That's right. Preceding this, I will have given you an intro that I will record after this, so you'll get the whole, giving people your rundown.
A couple of the applause track and the air horn.
I'm sure we got that in the background right now. Christo's helping us out. We got applause, air horn. Let's go. Hit it.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Of course. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks
Long
for being
overdue,
here.
I feel like.
I know. We talked about it many a time. Yeah. And I'm glad. Yeah. I saw you at NAMM. Yep. I think last time I saw you at the Beat Junkies booth, which, oh my God, you guys were killing it out there. That was
we were Mach 3 at the booth this year.
Yes,
Like, it was so much fun though. It was like an
but it was
absolute
also like
blast.
the mecca. You know, like everybody knew where to go at NAMM. All the DJs. Oh, I'll see you at the Beat Junkies booth. You know, and
oh word,
you guys were like, I don't know, just doing so much dope shit by having like the younger people on, and you were streaming it, and then you had legends on, and you guys, and it was it was just such a cool place.
Thanks,
to
man. Yeah, we were pretty pumped. It worked out pretty well. So yeah, and the response was great, and it's always great to like see the homies. Like I feel like I don't see you that often. Like
I know,
you know. So it's like it's just a great place to like cross paths with like just other DJs and you know, new school, middle school, old school.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it was fantastic.
Middle school.
Yeah,
but yeah, I hadn't gone to NAMM forever because I feel like it's always in January and during some other things that I'm doing or other people are doing. So they had it in that off time because of the pandemic, I think, but it was kind of nice. I saw so many more people than I usually see.
Yeah, yeah. You know what's interesting about NAMM was, and kind of to your point about the pandemic, was that I noticed when was it? Not this year, but last year, 2022. I think was the first year it came back. And, you know, we were all looking forward to it. And we've been at NAMM, the Junkies, like as a collective since like the late 90s. Like we've been literally going to NAMM every year. Like
it's amazing.
Back then, like just, working for our sponsors, Vestex back in the day, and then partnering with Rain, always kind of performing like at their booths. And then like we started having our own booth. Shout out to Jetpack a few years ago. But anyhow, one thing I noticed 2022 when NAMM came back for the first time post-pandemic, I was expecting just kind of like that annual chaos, which is like that kind of just so much going on, but there's at the same time it's a lot of excitement, with the community, but it was pretty dialed back. Like I noticed just like in terms of physical space, like there was just a lot more physical space between booths, and so I think that we saw in 2022 and this year 2023 we saw, I'd say probably at or around 30% less participation from the companies in the DJ hall than we've seen in the years past, which was nice. Right. I mean, getting to my point kind of made it to where you could actually you had more space. It wasn't to kind of walk around.
Speakers on your head. You hear everyone else's shoulder. Booth.
Yeah, that and just chaos coming at you from 8 different directions.
That's true.
You can actually take time to say what up to people and just catch up for a few minutes at least, because you know how it is. It's always so hectic. But
so hectic.
It was great. It's been kind of a nice re-entry into NAMM.
That's true.
I feel like for everybody.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it was dope to have it 50th anniversary of hip hop. That was kind of, I guess if I think about it, that was some of the kickoff stuff for it. Now it's in full swing, just going crazy. That Yankee Stadium show last weekend.
Did you catch any of that?
Yeah, I watched on YouTube.
Yeah, same here.
It was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I watched as much as I could, and then I had to head to a gig, and then the next day I saw a bunch of highlights on Instagram or wherever I could catch it. But I mean, that was pretty legendary. And the same night, I think, was kicking off that Force tour, which was The Roots, LL Cool J, Z-Trip, Jazzy Jeff, and all the guests they bring with them, which just the same night kicking off those 2 legendary tours. And then so many other events were happening, that weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Apple Music, they launched... it's called the Hip Hop DNA series that also was announced and published last Friday, August the 11th. Okay. So the Beat Junkies, they gave us a page, so we got some mixes on there in celebration of the 50
that's
years.
Super dope.
So.
I was listening to Stretch and Bobbito, and they had a show, and they were playing all this old, crazy archive hip hop tapes and then Ebro was doing a whole show, and I could tell that Apple Music was doing a thing. I didn't realize that they did a whole page like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's going to be up for, I think they said a good 30 days or so.
That's so dope. So the Beat Junkies, you guys have mixes?
Yeah, we all have mixes. Chalk, myself, Babu, Rhetmatic, and then J-Rock. He's been working with Apple Music for a few years now.
J-Rock has.
So he's got his own page, and he's got a catalog of mixes, but you guys can find those on
I
Apple
didn't
Music.
realize that. And there's so many dope mixes on there, actual DJ mixes that I've been finding by my heroes, I haven't even heard the J-Rock ones yet.
Me neither.
I'm gonna go. Really?
No, I've heard some of them.
Right.
But
I'm gonna go find it after this.
Yeah.
That's dope.
There's so many places now to grab music, and there's so many resources. There's YouTube and the Spotify and Apple Music and Twitch and like
Beatsource.
It's Beats, yeah.
But
Beatjunkies.com. Like, it's
but
just
exactly. It's so much. Plus,
endless,
like you
man.
said, we like listening to a lot of the time talk radio or podcasts or sports things or all that.
Totally, it's not always music, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're listening to music so much, or performing it, or doing shows on Twitch or whatever it is that sometimes you want a little break from it.
I tell my wife that all the time. Like we'll be driving in the car, like with the kids, and we'll have like a lengthy drive, 45, 60-minute drive. So we're driving like 4 miles in LA or whatever, like in traffic. But don't want to listen to music. Daddy, some music. And I'm like, all right, for the kids. But sometimes I tell them like, daddy needs a break. Because I'm in the studio like all the time. And a lot of times, like, especially at night, like I'm working in the headphones.
Right.
So my ears just get overwhelmed. And so the last thing sometimes I want to hear is just music.
Yeah.
So that's when I just go to like a podcast or an interview or, whether
too.
it's you or The Road or, you know what I mean? Like whoever or anybody really,
thanks.
For sure.
And wait, when you say you're in the studio, you mean like making music or doing like the teaching or
a little bit of both.
Twitch things?
A little bit of everything. So it's more. I do teach from home on our online DJ school platform, which is beatjunkies.tv. And then I still try and stream like semi-regularly, like once a week. And it's pretty sporadic just because of my day-to-day, my life schedule.
Of course.
And then a lot of times that I still do, and this is actually one thing that really stuck with me since the pandemic is I still spend a lot of time digging for music, recording records from my collection, record shopping, and just kind of working on DJ sets and programming. And I really got into, we were talking about this before the pod, but I really over the last few years, I've gotten into more live bands. I mean, I grew up like in the 80s, like born and raised out here in SoCal.
Yeah.
So I grew up on everything. You know what I mean? The radio stations back then, we had K-Day, which was 1580 AM, which was the mix masters, the triple OGs, the pioneers. And that's where like, we all kind of learned like the art of mix show DJing, scratching, Joe Cooley, Tony G, Julio G, Battle Cat, all the legends, right? The West Coast legends. But then we also had the Mighty 690, which was Casey Kasem, which was like pop music, and he had like the top 4. This might be before your time. I might be dating myself a little bit. But every Sunday he had the top 40 countdown, and you would listen to like the pop records of the week. So like Prince, Madonna, Rick Astley, you know what I mean? Like Run DMC like made it to the charts with Walk This Way, and then we also had Rick D's, you know what I mean, in the morning. So I grew up on a little bit of everything, and then later in the 80s, of course, with like electronic music and freestyle, and then Miami bass. So anyhow, so getting to my point, I spend a lot of time in the studio, kind of just filling holes in my collection. And like, you know how it is, like sometimes that's like a very slippery slope. Like you go down that rabbit hole, like one cut leads to this record, and then like, but then this dude was the drummer on this group. Now he's got a whole thing. He's got a catalog. Like what's he got? Like it's endless, man. It's just, so I spend a lot of time doing that too. So I'm just constantly just music in my ears all the time. Yeah.
No, I feel you on that. And, but I mean, it's so dope to hear that like someone, as legendary or an experience as you, that, not like you have nothing to prove or something at this point, but like in a way you don't, but that still works just as hard as the beginning, and you put in just as much work. And it's like, even when I see people like Travis Barker or someone like that, like they'll never stop practicing, or working on it. And like, that's why they're great. And that's where your work ethic really pushes you to that next level, And
I feel like it's a combination of that, definitely like work ethic, especially I think when you get older and you have kind of life responsibilities and the weight of that on your shoulders like day to day. But I think at the end of the day, and this is something that I've kind of learned over the years, and the pandemic and the last few years actually really kind of brought this to light for me, was that because it's kind of come full circle for me, but I'm back to this point in my DJ career where just like I really love DJing. I really love music. I probably spend too much time like working on like being a good DJ or like coming up with a dope thing or like, refining like my style or whatever. But that's kind of why I got into it in the first place, was because when I was a kid, like DJing and like hearing Rocket for the first time and seeing like, a live DJ like at my high school dance, like just blew my mind. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like I want to do this. Like, how do I get this equipment, And now it's like, so that's kind of like, I think deep down, like within me, it's still a personal goal of mine. Like I still like, we were talking about this outside, but like, that's kind of why I do like these little videos for Instagram. Cause it's like, it's kind of like my way of like, giving back to like maybe like, you know, my peers and like the next generation of DJs. Cause it's like, again, like I got into DJing because I was inspired. So I'm hoping that by doing these little things or these little showcases, whatever, 45 seconds, maybe I'll inspire somebody or give someone else an idea, you know what I mean? To kind of like push that torch forward, you know, or carry that torch forward. You know? So, but that's why I do it. And it's because I truly love it. And sometimes, you know how it is, man, like sometimes it can feel like work, like, I'm just not feeling it today, or like, I want to stream, but I don't know, man, I just don't feel it, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. So on those, and I think that's okay, you know what I mean, to give yourself those little breaks and whatnot.
But I think tapping into the reason why you started something is always going to give you that boost of energy and motivation. Totally. And I also think giving back is a big thing. You know, like I wrote a lot of questions for us today, and I think I also just sort of put like themes, you know, of things you know, basic things that I thought about you and your career, you know, and like some of the, I guess, topics, you know, I usually don't say them, but just looking at it on my screen is like longevity, quality, happiness, balance, expertise, and giving back. And those were like sort of these representative things of you and your qualities, your career to me. Like,
thank you.
And like I don't know, we'll get into it more down the line, but just how giving back as a DJ can make you feel fulfilled and happy more than maybe getting the gig you thought you wanted in a way or something.
Absolutely.
Right? Like
100%.
Like, because I was, you know, I have other questions for you later about being happy in life and balance and all that. But I think just you touching on it now is like, you making those videos to give back to whoever gets it. You may not even know. They may not even contact you, but you're touching people out there, you know, in a way and inspiring them to push forward and become the best they can be. And I think that's so dope. You know, it's like that really just the circle of life, but it also the circle of like happiness in your career and why you do it. And you don't get stuck in this thing of like, oh, I don't know, why am I doing this? Right, You're in your own, I don't know.
Yeah. It's still fun for me too at the end of the day, you know. And I think I said this words back, but it's come full circle for me in the sense of, again, like I got into DJing because I was inspired, and like the rest of us, we all started as bedroom DJs, right? We all started with whatever gear, whatever setup we had, like at the crib, in the studio, the half crate of records or whatever it was, or the controller thing, whenever you started, you know what I mean? We all started from ground zero, right? Yeah. And then, you know, I was fortunate enough to compete and have some success there. And then I did radio out here in LA for like 12 years. And then, you know, the nightclub thing, like rest in peace to our guy, DJ AM, you know, with you, and did that for like a decade plus. And so I feel like, you know, first and foremost, I was very, very fortunate and very blessed to be a part of those industries. But now I'm back in this place where I'm a bedroom DJ again, and I'm having like all the fun in the world. And it's not about monetizing, you know what I mean? It's great, like you can stream and like earn a few bucks or whatever, and that's wonderful. But for me, it's more about, you know, cultivating like that community that's true to you, that's dedicated to you, that appreciates not so much me as a DJ, but more like, you know, the music that I kind of curate for those sets, you know what I mean? I also have a YouTube channel that I've been trying to be more attentive to, and again, I can't monetize that because I'm playing, you know, music that's owned by other records, and that's fine. Right. You know what I mean? The Instagram thing, like,
but it's still dope. Like I listened to your latest mix on YouTube.
Oh, thanks.
The one you did for the 50th anniversary, and it was dope to see. And I saw there was ads on there, but I was wondering. I was like,
there was? Damn it.
I wonder if like
YouTube got in there.
YouTube did it or something.
They probably, no, that wasn't me. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I was wondering because I'm like, he can't monetize this.
No, I can't. I have to turn the monetization settings off. Right. So that's the mix can live on YouTube.
But I wonder if YouTube sees the songs that are in it and maybe then puts an ad and then pays those artists out.
Totally, because I wonder. Every time I do, and I've been trying to do more of them lately, but when I record those mixes, that one's a perfect example. The instant it got uploaded, I got like however many songs were in that mix, 19 or 20. I got 20 emails like copyright, letting me know that.
But they're not going to pull it down.
No, they're not. They're not going to pull it down. But any revenue that does come through goes to the
which is kind of dope in a way.
No,
I mean, thank God that's in effect now. But how come some people's mixes would get pulled down? Like, do you have to get to a certain point?
I don't know.
I wonder.
I'm not
or is that
sure.
just the new thing where they just license it like that? I wonder.
Yeah. I haven't really. Again, this is more recent for me. Like in the last like literally 6 months, I've been trying to do things on YouTube here and there, but I was doing them probably in like 2014 or 15, I was uploading everything from like a 2-minute routine thing to like a 20-minute vinyl set. And there was a couple mixes I remember that got pulled that YouTube wouldn't let me post. And one of them I remember specifically was because of a Stevie. I did a freestyle mix and it was a Stevie B song. So whoever owns that label, LMR, just wasn't having it.
They probably they make deals with the companies maybe, and then they're like, no, or yes, they can license it and pay.
That makes sense. Yeah. But this was years ago. But now I feel like, knock on wood, like, and again, because I already knew, like, I'm going to record this and just hopefully, like, the monetization's off, like, they'll just let it live, you know what I mean? Yeah. Clearly, I'm not out to, like, gouge the industry or the artist or anything like that. And they did. So the mix still lives. Dope. And so
it's nice to see it moving forward like that, where YouTube, you can put a mix and the artist will get paid. Apple Music, J-Rock mixes, or Stretch and Bobbito, or Beatsource is able to now use the, intro, outro, acapella out, transitions, and then the artist can still get paid. I think it's slowly moving in that,
hopefully
the boulders moving.
In the
slow motion.
In the right direction.
That's really dope.
So anyhow, that's like my full circle thing. Like I was just telling you
that
about.
You're back in the bedroom, and
I mean, I still get out and gig once in a while. Like it's probably nothing. It's a lot of private stuff and corporate things and consulting and side projects. I've done some mixes for Rock the Bells. I did a show with Russell Peters. Over the Memorial Day weekend. That was a lot of fun. So it's like I'm doing those gigs now where it's like I can kind of go out and just be myself musically as a DJ. So those are the kind of gigs I'm taking. But like as far as me showing up at like the bottle service gig, like doing the 2-hour thing,
like, yo, what's the hottest?
Those days are behind me, like
like, yo, play that new ski song or whatever, right? But that's great. I mean, then I think that's the goal among a lot of DJs. Most DJs probably is to be able to be yourself up there and have people appreciate it and get the call for something to be yourself and be able to say yes and no to things and be in the position to be like, no, I don't want to do that. So. And people know who Melo-D is, what he represents, and what he brings to the table. So to be able to come and do that and not have to be like, no, we want EDM tonight, it's kind of dope,
But I do, like, I'll be honest, like, part of me does miss it though. I do miss, like, just you know how it is, man. Like, well, that and just like, you know how those rooms get, man. You get a room full of like 1,200 people, 1,500 people, or even 700 people, and you just got them. You're locked in, right? You just got them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you can't lose, you can't miss. Like everything's working, and like you got all the energy in the world like on your side. Like there's no feeling like that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like so. I do miss that sometimes.
I've seen you kill it in every different style of music. I feel like, you know what I mean, from the do-over to Vegas to everything. You know what I mean, out of Beat Junkies booth to online, and I mean,
thank you.
You're so versatile. You know what I mean, and you're able to utilize the skills that you've built up into any genre. I think and you're obviously up. Coming from the battle world and hip hop world, you're up for a challenge and being like, okay, you want me to do this? I'm gonna bring my flavor to it.
Totally. Word. Thank you.
It's been dope to see you do that over the years, and it was really cool to see, being able to see Melo-D in Las Vegas. Growing up listening to you, like you said, doing radio and in battles, and just I grew up idolizing you guys and the Beat Junkies, and just seeing what you've done in all the facets, so it's really cool to see. And it's cool to see how, what you guys have become as a whole, as a collective and a crew and a sort of a business and a corporation. And I think that also gives you the freedom to pick and choose what you want to do, because you're doing the school, you're doing the record pool, you're doing the all the different, the online school, the physical school, and all the tons of stuff you guys do, I'm sure you're associated with different brands, or you get asked to do all types of stuff, as the Beat Junkies, right?
No, you're right, and that's afforded not just myself. I think all of us kind of we're in a good position now where we can be a little more selective about the things that we step out and do as far as like live performance and stuff. So and that's a blessing. I mean, especially after doing it this long, and to still just be here and just be like relevant and accepted, and you know what I mean, maybe on occasion sought after, you know what I mean, which is it's great, so we're all happy to.
It's dope. And just to see where the DJ as a whole is in the world right now, like there's a DJ for, like, Russell Peters was one of the first comedians to really champion that, you know, Spin Bad and starting from scratch and having a 2x4 set before his show and having real pointing out to the crowd what's going on and letting the DJs flex and do really dope DJ stuff, even if a big part of that crowd probably doesn't know what's going on, you know, but he's pushing it forward. But now it's almost a common thing. So many comedians have DJs, so many sports events and things that never had it, you know?
Yeah. Dude, I got to give you props, man. I think I even mentioned this to you, but I saw you, I feel like this was earlier this year. You did like a 5-minute or 7-minute power thing at like a hockey game.
Yeah.
Yo, that was so sick, man. Like, dude, it was so dope to see you. Cause I know, like, I've known you for such a long time and I know we DJ some clubs and stuff together, and that's a complete other format. But I've always known that you've had that gear, so just so dope to see you get out there and just flex like that, like, and just like run through like a gazillion different records, but do it so tastefully, like in like 7 minutes or whatever it was. And like there was a dude like with a big boy beer behind, like like it was just like you had him going. It was tight.
Yes. Man. Oh my God. Yo, that's incredible. Thank you. Coming from you, that means so much, and like
that's awesome.
Makes me feel so good.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was nervous about that. They called me like, we heard you'd be good for this. You know, shout out to Amy Robbins. Like, she does so many sports things, and she recommended me for that. And I think Dazzler put my name in there too. And I was like, what am I supposed to do here? And actually, Vlats is here with us. He doesn't have a mic right now, but he's filming us. He's a huge part of the Vlats. Yeah, huge part of the 20 podcast fam since the beginning. And you need a mic so you could talk once in a while here. But Vlats came with me and filmed the whole thing and was with me and, you know, experienced it from front to back, helped me carry in it was my first time using the Rev 7, you know, in a live setting too. Thank God I had it for that. I'm like, because it was dope. I talked to some other DJs that do sports things, and, you know, everyone had a different take on it. Like, hey, man, I just pre-record it and just play it. Or I do this. Or everyone had a different thing. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to pre-record it. Like, if I'm going out here, I'd rather make a mistake and just recover from it. And I'd rather feel like I'm really scratching in a huge arena than just, oh, I did that in my house and I'm going to like clap my hands above my head.
Right. The overhead hand
and
claps.
if I mess up, that's why we've been DJing so long. We could fix it, you know?
Totally.
So I just, you know, I probably made the difficulty level a little bit too high for myself, but somehow I pulled it off. But you know, when you do that, it's like creating a dive. Like, that's too hard. I'm like, oh, am I going to be able to do this? Like, I got 1 second to go from here to here. And thank God for, you know, DJ Rouche from the Lakers. Like, he was showing me the Serato flip thing, which I had never used as much as I did for that set, because I was making all these edits, and then they're like, no, you should use flip and use this and that. And I'm like, oh my God, it's genius.
It saves a lot of time.
Oh my God.
I know I need to use flips more too. I'm still like,
it's nice for routines where you know it's going to go, or like, you know, like Blitzkrieg Bop. I don't want to play the verse. I'll just go from the intro part, the hey ho, and then go to the end, and then I have acapella. So.
I need to dive into that too. Like, I've always been the cue point guy. Like, if that means me having 4 or 5 cue points on a track, like, that's kind of the route I'll always
but
take.
I was getting to the point where I was like, oh, I got to do a cue point and hold the record and the thing. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And he's like, oh, just do flip, make the song flip to the end. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. And it helped my set so much. But yeah, that was so much fun. Like, I was honestly, I was nervous before. I was practicing a lot. And you know, when you get asked to do something like that, of course you have like 10 gigs right before it, or family things or something. I remember being so busy up till right before, so I had to stay up all night the night before, and I'm thinking, should I even be doing this? Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
So you came up with all that in one night?
I don't know about one night, but basically, definitely last minute. I had a few people help me, stylist Chris, you know, few people I'd sent it to, but yeah, kind of, I was up till the last second, just like coming up
sciencing it out.
Because I had to do 3. I only posted that 1 5-minute set, but I did 3 sets. I did like this opening set that was, I think, 13 or 15 minutes. Then I did a warm up right before the game. Then I did that set, which I think was like a halftime. There's 3 periods, so there's no halftime, but it was kind of a in between the second and third period type of halftime-y set.
Super dope, man. Yeah.
But I was like, I had never even been to a hockey game in my life. So I'm hitting up other hockey DJs like, what are you doing for the face-off? I'm like, what's the face-off?
I don't even know the rules.
He's like, how'd you get this job? I'm like, I don't know.
Who's playing again? The Clippers against who?
I'm like, it's the Clippers versus the Lakers with the Kings in the middle. Yeah, it was it was crazy. But yeah, so much fun. And that's what DJing's all about. Like you said, that was this year. You know, I think that was March, and like it's August now, and I think this year I've done a bunch of things that I've never done in my life. You know, and I've been DJing 20 something years at this point, so it's like just to be able to have new opportunities, go places you've never been in your life, DJ countries I've never been, do types of sets I've never done, and that's the beauty of DJing, and just that our life is definitely not mundane and the same thing over and over and over.
It's definitely not normal or boring. That's for sure.
It can. There's always some new stuff, and it can raise your anxiety levels and stress levels. But as long as you are built for that and you're willing to go into that challenge and be like, okay, I'm doing this Kings game or whatever it is, or you know, I'm DJing for Russell Peters, or it's always a new situation, you know, and you always want to bring your A game, and you always want to challenge yourself. It's the same thing with me too. Like, I'm like, why am I overthinking all of this and practicing way too much and organizing way too much? Or when I have time off, I'm still making beats or trying to do things, but it's because I love it. It's because I'm so lucky to be doing this, and I'm so appreciative that I just want to be the best I can be in any situation.
No, that's great, man. That's why you're still here. That's why you're still out there doing things like stepping outside the box and taking those chances and challenging yourself and stepping up for the challenge. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, that's half the battle right there is the willingness to do that and just get a little uncomfortable. You know?
Yeah. Even I was in New York this weekend, and I think Monday I was telling you I went to Rock and Soul and bought some records and clothing, and I saw Sharon, and she said, hey, and I saw Drew from Pioneer, shout out to him, and
shout out to Drew.
They said, yo, there's a DJ battle in Times Square today at 4:30, and it was like 3:30 when I'm there. I'm like, what? And we're like an 8-minute walk, so I'm like, all right, I'm going over there. So I just did my Google Maps, like, how do I get to Times Square? Pop over. I see, shout to DJ Fat Fingers. He's the host, Heavy Hitters, and he's up there, and I think Pearly was one of the judges, and there was just literally a DJ battle in the middle of Times Square. Was this yesterday? Or
literally last week?
Yeah, yesterday. Or it was Monday. No, like Monday at 4:30.
I know the DMC, the USA DMCs just happened in New York the weekend before.
No, this was literally, like, I will show you the videos. I was like, this is incredible. Like, what's going on?
Damn, crazy.
Yeah, just out free for the public, like so New York. Like, you know, dudes dressed in like Spider-Man outfits that are like in Times Square, you know, taking pictures of people for money, or like watching it, you know, homeless people to like people shopping at, you know, Gucci. Like, it was like crazy. The most random shit, like bleachers set up, and
that's dope.
That dude Spectacular was battling this dude Junior Chuck, and this other guy, I think, I forgot his name, Soul Supreme or something. He won, I think. But it was cool to see, and I remember I was talking to Junior Chuck after, and he was like, "Oh man, you know there's always those after battle talks, you know, they cut it. It was supposed to be 30 extra seconds and da da da." And I told him, I'm like, "Yo, the fact that you're even in New York, in Times Square, and that you even got to the point where you have the like courage to come up here and do this is like huge." You know what I mean? I'm like, I know you didn't win and you want to win and it's all competition, but I'm like, this is super dope that you're here. And like, at the end of the day, we should all be proud that we're just stepping up to the challenge, like, no matter what happens. You know, the fact that we get to do it, we're so lucky and so dope.
Totally. Yeah, battling's no joke. I did that.
Yo, that was crazy.
A number of years throughout the 90s, pretty much. Battling's like so intense. I feel like when I was, now we're talking about it. When I was really, really locked in on competing, like, I literally, that's all I did was just try and work on routines. Like, literally, like,
you're like 12, 14 hours a day, right? Where you just need to work on specific moves.
Like, you practice until you can't practice anymore, shut it down. You wake up in the morning, do your little morning, 15-minute morning routine, whatever it was, and go right back to it. Like, and you're just always trying to just come up with, like, just new routines, like, you know what I mean, to smash the competition. Like, and then you know, once you have that, it's about like refining and rehearsing, perfecting them, and then even if you perfect them to the point where it's like you can do it perfect, flawlessly 99 times, you still got to get up there and do it perfect that 100th time on that stage. Which, you know, in the competition itself,
something
like,
that you don't expect happening. It takes shaky table or some other weird things happening, or
anything, anything can go wrong. So many things can go wrong.
That's why the muscle memory is so important. You know, that's even what I tell my son for sports. You know, I'm like, you're practicing for a time in the future where your body's gonna need that like muscle memory, like it's those 10,000 hours.
Yep,
yeah, you need that second nature feeling to be able to do it because you're gonna be in these crazy situations you would never picture, and that's when you need your body to kick in and be like, this is what I know what to do.
Yeah, totally.
That's crazy. What were some of the craziest battles you were a part of? That I mean, I remember, dude, honestly, like I lived up in the Bay Area for 5 years, like from about 95 to 2000.
Okay.
And I would go to Maritime Hall and all these places to see a lot of shows. And I feel like I remember, I mean, I might be wrong, but seeing Beat Junkies at ITF battles they would do there, and like you guys would do the 4-turn, almost like invisible scratch pickle type thing.
Team routines.
Yeah, those team routines.
Yeah. All of them were special, for different reasons. But I mean, I can remember each battle I was in, from the smallest local battles here, like, in Southern California, LA, Orange County areas at record stores, to, my first big battle, which was 1993. It was called Represent, and it was basically a battle of all the UC college DJs. So all the UC schools chose one DJ to send to represent their school. So it was like,
and where were you from?
I was from UC Irvine.
Okay.
So I was UCI. There was, a guy from UC Riverside, UC San Diego, UCLA. Wow. So it was like, I think 8 or 9 of us. And funny backstory behind that, I can laugh about it now, but back in the time, it's really chapped my hide. So this is 1993, right? So hear me out. So there was literally, each school had to pay a $50 entrance fee to support their DJ, to get their DJ entered into this battle, right? So I went to like, the little social club at my school that I was kind of like hanging with at the time. Yeah. I was like, hey, will you guys be down to sponsor me for this battle? I need $50.
Yeah, it's 50
like,
bucks.
Oh, sorry, Melo. Like, we don't have it. You know what I mean? I was like, $50. All right.
$50.
And if you won, the first place was $500.
Right.
I was like, yo, if I win it, we'll split it. I was like, basically stake me. You know what I mean? I don't have $50. I'm a starving college student. Like, help me out. So I just felt like they didn't want to do it. Like I feel like they could have came up with a 50. I'm just keeping it 100. Yeah. They didn't want to for whatever reason. Times were tight, whatever it was. Yeah. I don't know. They had a bad month. So my mom, God bless her, she gave me the $50. Wow. And so I, submitted $50, and I was in the contest, and I ended up winning it, right?
I was about to say, you must have won, right?
And then like, shortly afterwards, like, I go back to school, and it was great. Like, of course, winning them, that was cool, winning the $500, whatever.
But it's like, you guys didn't support
but it was
me
more,
in the back of my head.
I mean, I didn't say anything, but it was just like, yeah, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, like now you guys want to come and high five me and congratulate me, but like, where were you? I needed the 50 bones, man.
Exactly. Like, I could have given you 100 back and still had
you guys cost yourselves $250.
Yeah, what are you thinking? Yo, that's funny. Do you remember who else was in the battle?
Yeah, E-Man was in the battle.
What?
Who else? The finals, I went up against a guy named Grimace. No, not Grimace. Oh, what was his name?
Grimace.
Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. But there was a guy named Grimace. He was from, I think, UC Santa Barbara. That was another school. There was a guy named DJ AJ. Really cool cat. Became friends after the battle, but he represented for UCLA. But this is, again, early 90s, so this is, pre-internet. So, like, we were all kind of studying, like, the DJs from the 80s, and we were all watching the DMC tapes and trying to emulate those styles.
Oh, yeah,
and, like,
93 was like, I had just stacks of VHS tapes, and I'd be like, see a video of like A-Track or whoever and be like, who is this person? This kid or DJ Swamp, like lighting shit on fire.
Right. Like, so I battled with Swamp later in the 90s. Wow. He actually won that contest. That was a USA DMC. That was in San Francisco in 96. Okay. And so he took that one, and then that was the USA's. He went on to the Worlds. Can't remember if or where he placed at the World competition, but that was definitely one of the more memorable competitions. And then, the team stuff with the Junkies, we won the World back-to-back, 96 and 97. Wait, 97 and 98? And then, and then we all kind of started pursuing, like, we all kind of went in different directions. Like, I was doing radio real heavy. Right. Babu started, like, recording and producing, DJing for Dilated Peoples, Romantic with the Visionaries, J-Rock doing J-Rock, you know what I mean? And we did that for a number of years. But yeah, I mean, going back to kind of what we were talking about battles, but that when we were battling, like, that's all we did. Like, we were practicing 5-6 nights a week. You know what I mean? Either at my house or Curse's house, or we were driving up to Camarillo to practice with Babu, just to come up with these routines. And that's all we did. We like ate, slept, and breathed routines, turntablism, scratch records, drum breaks, studying videos, you know what I mean? Dissecting like other people's routine. Like, it was crazy. That's all we did.
I mean, that's how you get to be that level. You know, you just have to put in the work.
You have to study.
Like, there's no shortcut, you know, and I think we're living in the age of people wanting shortcuts a bit or hacks or whatever. But the end of the day, hack is put in a lot of work.
You do. Practice makes permanent. You got to do it.
Practice makes permanent.
There's no way around it.
That's dope. Yeah, that's the truth. Well, I mean, let's go back in time a little bit. Like, I read somewhere that you began collecting records at the age of 4. And that also makes sense to see why when you watch you on Twitch, you have the biggest record wall I've ever seen in my life.
AKA the green screen. People are coming, yo, is that what's up with the green screen?
People are like, that's not real, right? You're like, that is my damn house.
No, we don't fake the funk, guys. It's a real record.
Yo, like, that's unreal. So I'm like, the only way to get that is if you start when you're 4 years old. But I mean, you were collecting actual records when you were 4, like.
Well, not collecting, but like,
but starting to be into music even. Yeah, you know, like, I mean, that's kind of big for a 4-year-old.
Totally. I mean, we didn't really have a lot growing up with my folks, but one thing that we did have a lot of was music. And so my parents grew up in the 60s, so they got married at a very young age. They got married at age 21, had me a year later. So I was born in 73. The early,
your birthday's tomorrow, right?
Yeah. 50 years in the game.
Oh my God, let's go! Happy birthday, Melo-D!
Thank you.
50 years in the game. Yeah, that's huge, though. It's so inspirational to hear that. I can't even tell you. Like you said, you want to inspire people with the scratch videos, which you do, but being 50, you know, turning 50 tomorrow, where you are in your career and your personal life and all of it. I mean, I think it's so incredible. And you should really take a moment to like sort of step back and look at it all and just feel so good about yourself, you know, because
it's hard, man. I think it hasn't really set in yet. Maybe tomorrow. Well, we woke up this morning and my wife jokingly tells me, enjoy the last day. What'd she say? Happy last day of being in your 40s. I'm like, I gotta go change my Peloton profile now to like 50s and like the whole like now I can enter like
to 49.
I can enter the seniors tournament at the World Series of Poker next year. Like, you know what I mean? There's all kind of cool stuff. Like, you know, there's a lot of upside to turning 50. But,
it's crazy.
But no, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's huge, man. I think you've given so much to this world and the hip hop culture and the DJ culture and music itself, and it's just so massive. But beyond that, being a dad, being a great husband, being, you know, just a good person on this earth, you know, and an amazing, incredible DJ is like, it's huge. So, to be turning 50, and in a way, yes, you're hitting the senior point, but I mean, it's just the beginning. Like, who knows what is ahead of you, you know?
Hopefully another
that's
50.
the beauty of it.
We'll see. But this is really great, man, to be able to sit down and do something like this, like kind of around like that milestone, like that personal milestone of mine. It's awesome. Like I told you, I love DJing. I love the culture, and I love having these conversations.
No, it's so inspirational for me, and I'm sure people listening just like, that's so dope. You know what I mean? I want to be there when I'm 50. I want to be in your position. So,
but yeah. So going back to like you know, my childhood, my parents, you know, they grew up in the 60s, so. My mom, they basically both had their own record collections, you know, when they got married, and, you know, of course, they bring both of those in the house. Right. So my dad...
they merge it.
Yeah, my dad was into, you know, rock and roll, so like the Beatles, and then like in the early 70s, he was into like, you know, kind of, I guess we consider it classic rock.
Right.
And then he had like, he had some oldies and stuff too, a little bit of funk, like Isley Brothers. I remember he had like an Isley Brothers album, and then like my mom... she had a lot of oldies, I guess, so like ballads, you know. She had like a decent amount of rock and roll as well, like the Beatles, Elvis, the Beach Boys, you know, some surf music. And then throughout the 70s, both my parents, but I feel like it was more my mom, she got really into dance music, which was disco at the time. So, you know, then we had records like, you know, Donna Summer albums, Ring My Bell, stuff like that. I remember them taking me to the drive-in. I remember at least 3 times, but I fell asleep every time. We went to the drive-in 3 times to go see Saturday Night Fever.
Okay.
And this is back in, again, the 70s. So when did that come out? 77, 78?
Yeah.
But I remember...
funny, that's what they were playing in Rock and Soul yesterday, the whole day.
Oh, no way.
Saturday Night Fever. While I was there the whole time. Yeah, the whole vinyl soundtrack.
So
of it.
good, man. Like so good, like timeless. But yeah, I remember going to the drive-in to watch that, and back then they would always have, well, I don't know if it was a double feature, but there would always be like a short film before like the main kind of, you know, feature.
Right.
So there was it was always a black and white movie, and and I would always like kind of make it through that and then start falling asleep, and then I would just doze off. But,
right.
So anyhow, like you know, my parents, like, you know, continuing to add to the record collection was a regular thing.
Yeah.
So not every weekend, but probably a good 2 or 3 times a month, we would go to just different record stores around my way. So like these stores don't exist anymore, but Warehouse Records, we had like half a dozen local stores in the Cerritos area where I grew up. We had a dope store called the Music Box. The dude that actually owned and ran the store was a disco DJ. And so I would go in there with my mom, and this is like early 80s, like 80, 81. And she would go in and she had like a short list of records that she wanted. She would go up to the counter and give her a list of 6, 7 songs. Yo, my dude would go, and he was dressed like, you know, the disco DJ had like, you know, the hairy chest with like the disco shirt, 3 buttons undone with the fat gold chain. Like this dude was fly. He was on it. That's and so amazing. My mom would go, and he would just go, he would turn around, he'd pull out 2 boxes of 45s, just bam, boom. Before you knew it, within less than a minute, she had all 6 records, right?
Wow.
This dude was on his game, like tough. And then, so I remember that store. I don't even know the dude's name, but shout out to him. And then when hip hop came out in like the early 80s, like 83, 84, so this is like, you know, Roxanne Shante, UTFO, Fat Boys, Malcolm McLaren. There were like Electro records, like Electric Kingdom, Egyptian Lover. This guy had a small section of those records. Wow. So my mom, she would take me to the same store, the Music Box. She would go buy her 45s, and then she would, you know, pay for a couple records for me. So I was kind of slowly collecting records, like, you know, maybe not as early as 4. I was definitely listened and exposed to music at that age, but I definitely have like a good probably crate and a half of records, like my very first records that my parents bought for me, and then like that I bought for myself when I was like 8 or 9 years old in the 80s, dope. And a lot of cassettes too. Yeah, there was another really dope record store called Tempo Records. There was a Warehouse Records in the Cerritos Mall. There was a Licorice Pizza, another dope store back in the day in the Cerritos Mall. And there was a couple others around our. There was Tower Records.
They have like a Licorice Pizza on Ventura Boulevard now.
Oh, that's still around?
Studio City.
Oh,
they like
crazy.
redid it, I think, because of the movie. Like a movie came out called that.
Oh,
and then
not even knowing.
I don't know, but I drive by it all the time. Like I need to go in there and see what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's dope. That's Licorice Pizza was always a dope store.
I remember Warehouse and Tempo.
Yeah,
for sure.
Tempo. Yeah, Tempo was tight. And I still have all those records. Like I still have my original copy of Nucleus Jam on it. Wow. My original 12-inch of Electric Kingdom. It's Time.
Dope.
Hashim. It's Time. I got like, you know, multiple copies of those.
Crazy.
All that early stuff. Spider D, Smurfy's Dance from like 82. Whatever records and tapes I have from back then, I still have those in my collection. Dope. And like when I moved out of my parents' house in the late 90s, I took like half of the records with me. Like you guys are listening to these because, you know, now we had like, they had the home stereo thing with like 7 units. They had a CD player and
course.
Like the 6-disc changer. They didn't listen to records anymore.
Right.
Mom, Pops, do you mind? They're like, no, go ahead. Like,
so like I'm gonna put these to use.
Yeah,
you know,
I have
more
a lot
than
of
you guys.
a lot of their 45s, which are like those genres that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So,
that's
but
tight.
yeah, no, records have always been a part of my life since a very early age.
Oh, that's amazing. And like, you know, going from that into kind of some of the stuff we touched on earlier and all the different facets of your career, you know, that have been so much, like, what do you think are some qualities that make for a long career in the music business, like specifically DJing? Like, you know, your ability to go through all those different phases. I think we touched on it a bit, and it's caring about it, you know, in a sense. But is there any other things you think that play into having a long career in the DJ world?
Yeah, it's crazy to talk about this because, you know, standing here now in 2023, you know, I never thought that I would be DJing this long. I never thought that it would turn into. I never really looked for it to be a career for me.
Yeah,
I never looked
same.
To
That's
make
why
money.
It's so mind blowing. Yeah,
and I think really, and this is just my 2 cents on it. I really feel like looking back, it really comes down to kind of what we talked about, what we touched on earlier, which is having like a true love for it and just, coming from the heart. Like, and of course it's okay to have, we're all human. It's okay to have those moments of frustration or, not feeling it one day for whatever reason. But I feel like as long as you have the love and the drive for it, anything in life really, you're going to be great at it. It's going to be really hard for you to fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're going to love it so much. You're going to be so dedicated to the point where when you do have those frustrating days or those major hurdles, you're going to just work through it. And it's not really going to feel like work. It's just because you want it so much.
It's true.
So I feel like that's number one. I feel like another thing that for me personally really worked in my favor, again, looking back, was that when I started DJing, DJing wasn't a thing. I mean, it was, but it was very, very underground. Like there weren't DJing was not a thing. It wasn't like as commercial as it is today. You weren't seeing it on TV. You weren't even hearing it on the radio. You really had to seek it out. So for me to be able for me to have started back then and have years of experience, kind of already have had like a decade plus of experience, getting into the early 2000s and already being on radio, kind of having all that underneath my belt and having done all those things really gave me a huge advantage because I was one of the DJs that I guess kind of started earlier to where I already had 10 plus years of equity in my name.
Right.
And now I'm in this pool that's, 25x, 30x the size of what it was when I started with all these other new DJs that are trying to start, you know what I mean? So I already kind of had a head start and I had experience and I had a record collection, you know what I mean? And I had a little bit of, like I said, equity to my name. I've been doing house parties. I competed. I had done radio. So I feel like that has done a lot to really, really just help me throughout the years, just having that head start. And then, a lot of other things too. There's definitely been a lot of kind of right place, right time moments for me throughout the course of my career. A lot of, fortunate things with competing and, connect and just growing up out here in Los Angeles. I wouldn't have been on the radio if it wasn't for meeting Julio G and the Baker Boys and Tony G. They're the ones that big brother me, ushered me into the industry, you know what I mean? And then being able to do that. I remember getting the call from Julio to tell me I was officially going to be his DJ on the radio. This is in '96. And again, this is years ago. But obviously before iPods and the internet was a thing, that's all we listened. That's how we listened to music was the CDs we had, the records we had, the tapes we had, and the radio. So being on the radio back then, to me, I made it. I was like, oh my God, I can't. And that, to me, that kind of is the timestamp in my life to where I can actually say I became a professional DJ in 1996 because I was now supporting myself as a DJ.
Right, it was
getting a paycheck from the radio station, from KKBT, every 2 weeks, it was just, it was such a great time. And then I was getting, free records and everything, all the perks that came with being on the radio.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, you know what I mean? I feel have really just helped me. But as far as I really feel for DJs now that are really trying to make a name for themselves, because even if you do have, the love, if you're all heart, there's just so many other things. There's so many other moving parts and variables now. There's social media. You got to market yourself. You might have to have a YouTube channel. You got to have an Instagram or at least a Twitter. You know, you have to maybe throw your own part. It's just wild, man. And I think when you bring all these other, these other dozen things in that you can't really turn your back on. Yeah. That takes away from the time of you being able to become a dope DJ. Because you still want to be able to play a set.
Right, but if you had to do all that in your battle days, it would have been impossible. Like you said, you do your 15-minute morning routine, and then you're studying breaks and doing things and practicing to the point where your eyes are red and you have to go back to sleep. And if you had to focus on all those other things, it would have been tough. So it is a whole different world.
Yeah, it would have been virtually impossible, I think.
But it is cool to at the same time. A lot of people look at those things as a burden, and they are burdensome in some ways, but they're also pretty dope. I think if you approach it from a genuine place, an authentic place, and you do what you want to do on them, the same way you have your YouTube page and you put out that dope mix I was listening to last night. You do your Twitch the way you want to do it. Each of those social media platforms or whatever they are, some people I think try to fit in on it, or they do their thing like you're doing. I think you're approaching it in a more authentic way, which shines through, and you have so many people on your Twitch that just love watch. The chats are amazing, like everyone talking, and
we have a good time.
Yeah, you've built.
Sometimes we get a little out of line, but it's always a good time. Yeah,
I know you were describing. You're like it's either organized or it's Jerry Springer show.
Yeah, I was telling Spider off air, guys. If you guys are listening, like shout out to everyone that shout out to my brew crew that follows the Twitch and been supporting for almost the last 3 years. But I was telling Spider, like, I feel like my channel is very polarized because I'm either like doing all the things we're talking about, or it's just like, like me trying to just, DJ at a high level and just really just focus on that. Or it's like the Jerry Springer show where like, they're just like, we're just doing shots every 9 minutes.
But I think at the end of the day, it's you, and people feel like they're hanging out with you. They're getting this behind the scenes thing while getting to experience your talent and music, knowledge and hanging out with your wife. I mean, she'll be on there like, oh, do the samples for me, or, like saying what she wants. And then you guys are talking, and it's like amazing to see your guys' interaction and the music you guys like or don't like, or, just your conversation. And
no, it is. And it's authentic. It's us.
I love
it.
What
I mean? And it's live TV basically.
Yeah.
So anything goes, but it's fun. But anyhow, I'm sorry. I'm taking you off topic.
No, it's all good. I don't know what I was saying either, but yeah, I mean, just the different parts of, I don't know, where we got to, but yeah, like, what about, we were talking about the routines and the battle stuff, and you were saying you still work on them to this day, and you'll be in there working on it. And, like I was trying to think of a way to describe your routines, and I mean, obviously they're mind-blowing every time. It's like, how's he doing that? But they also have elements, and they're complex, and all that, but they also have so many funky elements, you know what I mean? You have the kind of routines that people can dance to if they wanted to, in a way, and it has that funky feeling to it. It's not so stiff or so technical to the point where it's like, okay, I'm watching like a science project type thing. And they're just dope all around. But I was wondering how like you approach that at first and then get it through the process to develop it to a finished product, like your routines or anything in that,
Sure. No, there's definitely a process, and they can go one of two ways, and these are very few and far between, but I've gotten lucky a few times where, I start to work on something, and then, I mean, you know how it is for anyone that's ever recorded anything, like especially when you're on camera and you're gonna put it out there. Like, this is me, this is my art. Right. I've gotten lucky a few times where it's like I just nail it first take. Like, oh, cool, that only took me like 4 minutes. Like, cool, just edit it and post it up, and we're done.
That's ideal.
But to answer your question, the long answer is that yes, there is a process. And it always starts with the actual song or the concept, and sometimes that can come from a few different places. Sometimes it is me driving around and I hear a song that maybe I hear like some potential in, or a song that I haven't heard in a while that I was like, oh, I totally forgot about this one. Like, oh, it's got this like 4-bar section. Like, I could probably freak that, Right. And then the step 2 is kind of like actually getting in the lab, loading up the song or the record or whatever it is, and starting to kind of work through it.
Right.
And then the third step is kind of refining it, because the videos that I put out, I like to keep them at or under a minute for Instagram and for Twitter and just for attention spans in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like people like probably wouldn't be able to stomach more than 60 seconds of me doing that. So then it's really like, okay, I've got these 9 patterns. Damn it. Let's hit then I break out the stopwatch on my phone, right? And like I time myself. And it's like, damn, this is 1 minute, 11 seconds. So then you got to work it down. You got to strip it down.
It's almost like you're sequencing a song. You got the intro, you got the outro, you got the middle parts, you got the bridge.
Right.
And you have to piece it together.
Exactly. Like putting the pieces of the puzzle together, all within that 60-second time frame.
Like composing it.
And then once you get that locked in, the final step is like recording it and like, just getting a take that you're happy with. And that's it. But again, that's kind of like the process, the long and short of it. But but that all comes from, that's crazy. This never really occurred to me until we're talking about it. I think that approach comes from the battle days. Yeah. And I never really thought of it like that, because it was very similar format with battles. Like DMCs, you had 6 minutes. That was it. You had the dude, if anyone's ever watched an old DMC video, like you got the dude coming up like in their face, okay, 30 seconds. They give you like the 30 seconds. Like, so you had to kind of like, you had to map out like your whole routine and make sure that you were within, you know, the 6 minute time frame. Same thing with like a ITF head to head battle. You had 90 seconds, or maybe like some of those rounds were 60 seconds. That's it. So I think, subliminally. That's crazy.
I know that is kind of, it was training you for the internet.
Yeah. My doppelganger.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, you know, the internet, like people complain about like, oh, it's just those little sets. Those people can't do anything. But it's like, there's a time and a place for each thing.
Totally. And I appreciate, like, I mean, it doesn't have to be like, I'm a fan of everything, like, you know, anything that's dope. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, I've seen like things that like, you know, to us, you know, experienced DJs, vetted DJs that are simple, like taking like an acapella, putting it over a beat. Maybe you're adding in like a couple cuts here and there. Right. You know what I mean? But there's flavor in that. You know what I mean? Like there's dudes that like just post like, and these are like 3-minute videos or like you know, of them just doing a blend. You know what I mean? Like, but they're, you know, they're getting creative with like the cue points, or they're rearranging the vocals somehow, or adding some flavor with cuts and stuff like that. So to me, there's a skill in that. You know what I mean? Like what you're doing, like I'm a fan of podcasting. Like it's not easy like to be in your seat and sit down and like talk to like a different DJ that has a different background, different history every week. You know what I mean? So there's a skill, there's an art in what you do too. You know what I mean? And of course, man.
Yeah, and I've had to learn. It was the same kind of thing. They were like, "Can you do this?" I'm like, "I think so." And then as I start doing it, I'm like, "Oh, there's actually like, this isn't just sit down and be like, what's up, bro?"
Right?
You know,
No.
I've tried that a few times, and then it ends up being a weird conversation. And like, like you do research, you prepare, you make a set almost like, and then you adjust the set as you go and read the crowd or read the conversation, or, you know, I've had to learn how to do it more, and timing, you know, because you look down like, oh, we've been talking for like an hour. It feels like it's been 10 minutes, you know, so you have to like keep track of all that. And, yeah, definitely. It's funny because no matter what I do in my life, I relate it back to DJing one way or another. So it's like if I'm doing a podcast or anything I'm doing, like my son playing soccer, like my only way to relate to any of the things he does is through DJing, you know? So if they lose a game, you know, I can only relate it to like having a horrible gig.
You had a bad night.
Yeah.
Sorry,
or like,
son, you had a bad set.
Yeah, you got to get back up. But in a way, they're all these same life lessons that go, you know? And like, and DJing comes from hip hop and comes from just making things happen out of nothing. And like you're taking literally 2 vinyl records, even pre-digital, you know, and making, I mean, there's an infinite amount of patterns and sounds and things that you can make out of that, which is the beauty of music. And, you know, it's our closest thing we can get to like infinity, you know, in this thing as a kid where you're like, infinity, oh, it's this crazy like concept. But in reality, that's what music is. It goes on forever. And I know a lot of people copy each other, but that's why DJing is so dope. There's infinite patterns and things and combinations and
it's an
and
art,
people are
man.
taking the same acapellas and putting them over the same instrumentals, but in a different way. And like you said, doing the cue points different. And I'm sure with the school, you know, your DJ school, you probably see a lot of things and end up learning from people you teach, which is such a dope full circle thing.
Totally is. I mean, and even, I mean, again, going back to kind of like the 50 years of hip hop, like when you really think about it, what we do as DJs, like even going back to like a Technics 1200 turntable, right? Yeah. Technics 1200 turntable was not designed so that we could do what we do, right?
No, they probably weren't even cool with it for like 20, 30 years.
Technics 1200 was basically like supposed to be like a high grade, like elite turntable for you to listen to your records.
Right.
Like, for all the DJs that bought,
like, you know, some baller person in their house, like, yo, I got the good turntable.
I got like the one with like the sick tone arm. It's got the height adjustment. It's got the weight on the back. Like it comes with this like, you know, stylus. Like, but if you remember,
I guess what was the point of the pitch back then though? It was like,
I know, right?
Like the only thought. Like, did people really need to hear their record anywhere between plus and minus 8%?
Well, I think that was something that they that was adopted through their previous models, because some of the previous Technics turntables had pitch control. I never had one, but like I've seen some and like talked to other DJs that came before me. Like pitch control was a thing before the 1200, so I feel like that carried over.
Right.
I'm speculating
why. I wonder if maybe it was because the turntables would start slowing down or speeding up by themselves, and you'd be able to adjust it yourself or something. Because how on VHS we used to have those tracking things, and you would have to adjust if your thing got old. So maybe it was just because things started to deteriorate or
yeah,
something.
Yeah,
No
or
one
maybe
could
like
fix it.
this is before my time too, but like going back to the 70s, like you know the discos in New York and whatever clubs were happening, like
Yeah, I guess
anywhere
they were
like
DJing.
to speed up. They weren't. I don't think they were mixing, but I know they were at least fading records
Yeah,
in
that's
and
true.
out. So maybe that you know kind of
just
where
to have it in the same
in the
zone.
same pocket, like where pitch control might have been born. I'm speculating,
Maybe.
but
It's interesting. I wonder if anyone knows the answer to that.
I know, right? Somebody out there does.
Yeah.
But like, if you ever bought a brand new Technics 1200, right? It comes with like that thick ass rubber slip mat.
Yeah.
Comes with that giant plastic case to cover your turntable. Like, that's kind of how home stereos were back. I mean, I remember like when I was a kid, like just you protected your equipment.
The record on.
Yeah. And it was just to listen to your records. So like,
totally.
You know, DJing, like that came from hip hop, like, you know, from the art, from the creatives. Like someone figured out, like, I don't need this like 4-inch thick rubber slip mat. I can't scratch. Like, I'm just gonna cut out like a 12-inch like, you know, circle of paper from this album, this Queen record or whatever, and use that because it's like less resistance. And like, oh, and I can use this to actually mix beats, like, you know what I mean? And if I put a nickel on top of the needle, it won't skip when I scratch the record. You know what I mean? Like, so just all these innovative like things that were born like through the years. To me, like that's a big part of our culture as DJs, like of hip hop history. So I think in you know, again, talking about kind of 50 years of hip hop and like you said, all the things like that have been like all the celebrations and all these little you know, blurbs and things, like it just made me think about all these little things that are so dope, because without all the little things, all the big things, all the kind of like modest sized things in between, like DJing and hip hop wouldn't be where it is today in 2023 without all those contributions. So I really just like, I've been reflecting a lot like the last week, you know, and just again, seeing all these posts and just thinking a lot about like just, you know, the decades past and just all of my influences and just DJs and the DJ homies, yourself, and just like, oh man, I'm just so grateful to be here. Just celebrate.
No, me too. It's so cool. And it's cool to see some of the founders, you know, Kool Herc is there, you know, at the 50th at Yankee Stadium, and people are able to pay their respects, you know, face to face. And it's just, you know, it's like Biggie. Like, you never thought, who would have thought hip hop took it this far? But it's like, for real, like, whenever you hear that line now, it's very much like, wow, it rings true, you know?
Yeah. I actually did a couple streams. I did one on Friday, which was August the 11th. It was like it ended up being like a 5-hour stream, but I wanted to do something to celebrate the 50 years. So, you know, obviously just like dedicated the whole stream to hip hop. And for the first time in a while, I actually went to like my vinyl vault behind me, and just, I mean, the majority of the stream was just me playing records, and just kind of telling the backstory behind each record, you know,
that's so dope.
Maybe where I bought it, or, you know, hey, I found this one in Japan, or J-Rock brought me this Pete Rock 12-inch, you know what I mean, from overseas back in the late 90s. So like, just, you know, again, sharing kind of the history behind it. And like, it was very nostalgic. And I did another one on Sunday, just kind of like as a follow-up. But I found myself just really just kind of like, again, just kind of like reflecting a lot, and like just a lot of like, just looking back on just all the things, and just it really has like flown by so fast. Yeah, like it's crazy. I mean, like I can remember you like sitting there listening, like in the late 70s, listening like on my dad's like home stereo system, listening to his Led Zeppelin 4 album. You know what I mean? And it's just like, damn, like in the blink, like we're here in 2023, and it's just so crazy to say 50 years, but it's just so dope, man. And it's just, and again, I love it all. Like I appreciate all of it. You know, I can find like, I can really like appreciate kind of like the flavor and the grace, like in everything. Like I said, whether it's, you know, a podcast or like a new school DJ, or even like what's the James Hype. Like I've seen some dude. That dude is amazing. Like if he's really doing all that stuff on 4 decks, it looks like he is. Like
he is.
I don't use CDJs.
Like he came on the podcast, and I got to talk to him, and he loves it, man. I mean, he was an open format DJ. He was DJing in pubs, you know, in England, and like middle of nowhere, and just like doing his own parties and doing these super long sets and playing all kinds of music. And I think he just realized where he wanted to go with it. And you know, in a way, it's kind of how A-Track was pushing that. Like, I'm in the dance music scene, but I'm bringing real DJing, and I'm doing that. And I think he has his own version of that, you know, where he's coming up with tricks and doing that. And I see other DJs doing that. There's that dude, he used to have another name, but now he calls himself, I think it's a long story short or something. But he's been doing some crazy transitions, and here's how you use math, you know, to get from 128 to 174. And I'm like, damn, I wouldn't even have thought of that. Like the way he was doing it in the 3/4, and he's doing crazy mathematical equations, you know, to get to these
change tempos.
Change tempos, and just doing some utilizing the equipment, you know, all the new options we have, you know. And then, I mean, now that we have stems and oh my
crazy,
God,
man.
There's so much stuff.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah, I love it.
It's really endless.
But I love, you know, you're so good at literally going from the day one stuff, like you said, pulling a record from your wall, to then utilizing the newest stuff, you know. And I think that's what you need to be a teacher like you as well, and the Beat Junkies school. And shout out to my shirt.
Yeah, shout out to your shirt. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my God, I got this shirt the day I got this shirt. I went into your school, and I remember halfway wishing you guys were all there, but also not, because then I was going to have to scratch in front of you guys. And then Babu was just in there cutting, and I'm like, shit, I'm so happy to see him, but I don't want to scratch in front of him.
No, that's what
But I ended up going in the big
the Longtagon,
and having a cut session with everybody from just other, you know, peers and Babu to like students. And oh my God, it was, you know, burned in my mind vividly, but it was so much fun. And, you know, I got some shirts, but just to see what you guys were doing, and that was towards the beginning of it. So to see where you guys have brought it, you know, is super dope. Thanks. So yeah, I definitely want to get into that. But just to touch on the streaming stuff a little more, like, you know, I mean, and just the pandemic, I guess, like everything changed, right? Like I mean, you weren't streaming before the pandemic, right?
No, I wasn't. No.
And I feel like that sort of changed DJing, like the pandemic. I mean, we were talking about it before, just it changed our family dynamic. It changed so many things, but it brought this streaming thing into the fold, which is so dope. It gave us even more DJ homies, and we were connected to so many more people around the world now. And so streaming is still a big part of your life, right? I mean, like you said, you just did 2 streams this past weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, like where do you see that going within your life, I guess, and then within the DJ culture as a whole? Do you think it'll keep going? Are you always going to be doing it? And
yeah, I think it's definitely here to stay. I know that, and I tease like my friends like a lot, my DJ homies, because like that was like the one thing that one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was the fact that all the homies were on. You were streaming at one point.
Yeah, I was doing every week. I jumped in
when I was like, holy smoke, you have that. I thought that was your real record collection. If you remember one night, I was like, yo,
no, of course I remember.
Spider's got
I was
records,
like embarrassed because I was like, for sure people know there's a green screen. And then I'm like, Melo-D just asked me if it was real. I feel like a poser.
No, I was probably like a few beers in or whatever, so it looked real.
It did look real. I worked really hard to make it look real. It was like you were saying, I'm going to put my full effort into anything we're doing. And if it's a Twitch stream, I'm going to try to make it super dope. But yeah, I tried to make it look super real at all the lights, and you're like, is it real?
I was like, yo, no. Spider's got a sick lab. Holy shit.
I don't know what that was. I found that on some website, but I'm like, wherever that is, it's so dope.
Yeah, that looks super tight.
Too many DJs or something.
Tight, but no, that was one of the things that I really enjoy was just because especially now, I almost never go out, right? I'm comfortable at home and
I know. I saw you just DJ'd Bungalow or something.
Oh yeah, I did that recently. Beach. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That looked cool.
Shout out to Brent Bolthouse, that was fun, and Jen, OG Jen,
the OG. You know, they were from the AM days, and now they're killing it with the Bungalow.
Yeah, they're doing very well with the Bungalow. So that was like their newest location. They opened up around my way down in Long Beach. So shout out to them. But like the one of my favorite things about the platform was again, obviously, no one was able to go out. Like, kind of like what you said, like the reset button got hit. Like, we were all on this level playing field. Like, everything was closed, and so that was like a way for me to hang out with the homies. Like,
totally,
I would finish my show at whatever time I finished, and then I would raid into Fashion, and Fashion would be just like doing his thing, and then he would raid into Deluxe, and then like Deluxe would end at like 3:30, and somehow you were on at 3:30 in the morning for whatever reason.
I don't know why.
So I end up all just like watching the homies and listening to the homies DJ, because like that, I mean, that's just like you can't possibly go to like see Spider and see Eric Deluxe and see Fashion and see Grand Funky all in one night. Like it's just not happening.
No.
So like,
and especially being older and having families and working now, we never get to see each other DJ. So when we get to go to an event, it's like everyone's together. It's like the greatest.
Yeah.
So that is what Twitch and the internet was,
totally,
you know, and is with streaming.
It's like a virtual hangout, right?
But also it's cool. I feel like I still see Four Color Zach doing it like every week. And
Zach,
I feel like in a way, like I saw him in San Jose last weekend and we got to talk in person, and he was like, I get my rocks off on Twitch, you know, and then I can just do Vegas and play the straight ahead shit. And it's kind of cool to have an outlet musically, and I'm sure make a little bit of money from, and still create the community that can support you if you are going to do other live events or different things. You know, you're still building that worldwide community in a way, even if it, I don't know, you know, maybe some people still make a good living off it, or I don't know where the money is, you know, within the Twitch world at this point. But it's cool to see the community that's built, you know, and DJs able to express themselves and almost just like owning their own nightclub and just doing it, you know.
Yeah, and you can just like, you know, you can show up and DJ when you want.
Yeah.
I think another cool thing that really came out of it, and this was one that really like resonated with me, was that, okay, like, you know, when we all took to streaming, right? And first of all, we all had to figure out the tech side, right? We all had to get whatever we had to get. I had to get a brand new PC. Like, I've been a Mac user my whole life, so that was like stressful, right? I had to go out and get a sound card and buy a few cameras, and like I had to get a new laptop. So I'd spent like, you know, racks like just to get all this set up, right?
Yeah.
And then get it off and running. But one thing that was really cool that I think still like, you know, holds true to this day is that, you know, when prior to streaming, anyone could walk into a big room nightclub, anyone could walk into a bar or a restaurant that had a DJ and probably never really, I'm talking about just the masses, probably never really paid much attention to the DJ.
Right.
Like outside of like, oh, he's playing my cut, or like maybe walks by the DJ booth and like kind of just, you know, post up for like a minute or two and just kind of watches him do his thing, and then is like, you know, off to like sit down with his dinner party or off to his table or whatever. Well, with streaming, now you're forced to watch us like DJ, actually DJ.
Yeah.
Like you're not forced, but if you're watching DJ Spider stream and he's doing a 2-hour stream, sure, he's playing music, but now you really get a bird's eye view, an up close and personal look at him actually DJ, mix 2 records, work the pitch controls, match the beats, transition in and out, and talk over it, and you get that like little splash of personality too. And I think that's something that really, really, I think in a good way, brought shined a really nice light on what we do as DJs. It actually, like, I think kind of helped people appreciate what we do as DJs, like the work that actually gets put in, as opposed to us just being like in a corner, you know, booth somewhere, or like,
and being able to be human beings, like you said, just like have a personality and talk to people. Because when you're in a club, we can't have those conversations.
You don't get that level of
engagement. You can't even hear each other's voice a
lot
of the time, you know, let alone have a long conversation or make a joke or like something, you know. It doesn't come across.
Thanks for the 500 bits or whatever. You don't even, you can't like, you know.
I know that's a funny thing. Sometimes I try to put Twitch on now, like just to have in the background, and it's dope, but I wish there was like a function to like turn off the mic. Like sometimes I just want to hear a DJ. And then the whole time like, hey bro, oh, thanks for the thing. Hey, oh, okay, you know, we're doing this. Hey, what are we doing? You know, I'm like, shut up. I love you, man. But
but this is my cut right here.
Like, sometimes I just want to have just a music one, you
know. I'm guilty of that too, though. Sometimes, like,
no, you have to. That's the game of it. That's the thing. But sometimes I wish there was like a function where it could be like choose your own adventure. Like, I want to hear this DJ play, but I don't want to hear necessarily all the banter of the Twitch back and forth, even though that's part of the reason.
And that's what I was just gonna say. Like, and sometimes, you know how it is, man. You streamed. It's it's weird. It's awkward being in an empty room, you know, talking to a camera, not getting anything back, like verbally, but you're getting it back, like virtually,
in the text,
in the chat. So sometimes, a lot of times, I get inside my own head where, okay, you know what? They've heard me talk. I need to stop yapping. Like, let's just play some music. Let me just like run like 4 or 5 records. But then like the whole time, like I'm in my head, like thinking, oh man, like I feel like I'm ignoring them. You know what I mean?
Totally. Like, that was what I would go through too.
It's weird. It's like a weird balance you kind of have to, and I'm still working on it. You know what I mean? But but I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And for me personally, like streaming, it's really spoiled me now to where like I'm ultra selective about the gigs that I play, because I'm having so much fun. Like I said, just like playing like music that I grew up on, playing music that I really want to hear. Yeah. And some days that's classic hip hop. Some days that's like indie and new wave. Some days it's classic rock. Some days it's 80s R&B, right? And so like the people that show up, like, guess what? You guys get to like listen to what I feel like hearing today. So thank you for being down and sticking around, you know? So it's hard to go from that to going back to doing the 2-hour thing at Omnia. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's no, you know, diss or slap to Omnia.
No, of course. But it's just a different
there's
thing.
A format to that. You know what I mean? You kind of have to, that's like, you know, there's a format. You have to play to the room.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to try and please, you know how it is. You please a little bit of everybody.
For sure.
But there's a skill in that too. You know what I mean? But it's, you know, so it's kind of like a blessing and a curse for me, because like it's a blessing in the sense that I get to DJ the way I want to DJ. I wouldn't say it's a curse, but like the downside is, sure, you make a few bucks off of it, which is nice, you know what I mean? But it's not the money that I would get from jumping on a plane, flying to wherever, you know what I mean? Like spending like 30 hours in this other city, rocking for a couple hours, then coming back home. But then I come back home exhausted. I got to jump through like 11 hoops to figure out who's going to get the kids to school and who's going to bring my daughter to the gymnastics thing.
Right.
So there's that trade-off, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so now like the live gigs that I do, because the way I want to DJ is very niche, and I'm almost being kind of greedy about it, because like I do get offers, but I do like respectfully kind of decline the majority of them. Right. I really just want to do the things like the Russell Peters gig where like I get the call from Russell, like, yo, Russell, what do you need me to do? He's like, yo, that shit you do at home, like on your channel, do that. Like, do that. Okay, word, I'm in. Let's go. You know what I mean? And it's like an hour set. You know what I mean? But those are very far and few between, like because the way I want to DJ is very niche, you know what I mean, so to speak. I don't DJ every week, like live, you know what I mean. I might DJ live like 8-10 times a year, you know what I mean, and it's not always at a party or a club. I recently did a project for Paramount Pictures, an event called Cinemacon, and they literally hired me to do a 5-minute set on vinyl, right? Okay. But this was this was at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace. So I'm playing like for 3,500, you know, major motion picture, you know, movie executives, like suits, right? So
5
it's
minutes?
Yeah. So let me like.
Why?
So, and again.
So short.
There's, you would think. But this was a very, very curated 5 minutes, right? Okay. So this started with them sending me, and they wanted this all on vinyl. They wanted it to be like a 90s kind of like throwback thing. So this started with them sending me a list of 20 records, right? Okay. And then me kind of going to my collection, like, okay, I have most of these. And then me pulling out like 6 or 7. I'm like, okay. And then experimenting with them a little bit. Right. These are the things I think I can work that will kind of fit like what you're looking for. Yeah. Recording something, sending it. So it ends up being this like month-long correspondence, back and forth, me sending them a couple of different takes. Right. The last take I sent them was an overhead. I just sent them a 5-minute video of like, it was like 5 records. It was like Kid and Play, Busta Rhymes, Skilo. They wanted Skilo, I Wish, and I can't remember the 4th song. And then I did like a little 30-second scratch thing, acapella one turntable thing at the end. So I sent them an overhead video. I was like, let me just show them what it looks like so they're not staring at me the whole time. Right. They liked it so much that, and this was cool, that what they decided to do was for the actual performance, they had a drone hover over me with the camera that would send the video feed to the screen behind me so that the people up top, like in the nosebleeds, could see what I was doing. Wow, like they were just so watching the overhead the whole time. And it's me like flipping records, like really sticking to that 5-minute. Right. Like, it was a hard 5-minute ceiling, not 5:02, not 5:04. Like I was cut off at 5 minutes because there was a dude that had to come out and make the speech. You know what I mean? Right. Like
just exact.
I had a 5 a.m. like call time to be on stage, and it was wild. So I do this set, right? The actual performance, and it was so cool. Like the whole, like I heard like just claps and like whistles and like I was like, wow, like people were actually paying. You know how it is like in those corporate environments. Sometimes people are just on their phones.
Yeah, they don't care.
You know,
they
it's
don't
9 in the morning. They're just waking up. Like they got one eye open. They're drinking the coffee, but like they were like super locked in, and it was like it was such a dope feeling, man. It was just it was awesome. So it was a lot of work that went into it. Like I said, it was like a month-long thing, like going back and forth with, you know, the people the folks over at Paramount. But it worked out, and they were super happy. I was super happy. I feel like it was well received in the moment. So stuff like that, you know what I mean? I'll do stuff like that. But again, that's maybe once a year, maybe twice. Maybe they'll call me back again. I don't know, but you know what I mean? But But it was. But I mean, you're doing
something you love, and you're happy about it, and you're bringing your true self and talent, you know, to that, and it's like a challenge that you love, you know. So something good will come out of it. That's so dope.
Yeah.
What was it like? What was the Paramount? Just
so they so this event Cinemacon.
Cinemacon.
It's like a week-long thing, and my understanding of it is it's a conference, and it happens every year, and they give, you know, X number of, you know, the major motion picture companies, they give them all a 1 hour slot to kind of present their forthcoming thing for the year. So this was back in March of this year. So it's kind of like, you know, each company gets up and talks about, hey, we have this movie coming out, we have that movie coming out. So they had I haven't seen it, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I guess they redid.
Oh yeah,
I guess
I actually just DJ'd the family event launch screening party for it, because they can't. It's all the actors are on strike, so they're not doing the movie premieres.
Oh, right.
But they had me at Paramount actually, and I did
out here. The studio's
because
out
the
here.
soundtrack is nuts. Like they sent me the soundtrack, and it's like Ante Up. Like there's like a Gravediggers song.
So it's got like 90s hip hop.
Yo, like real 90s hip hop. Like I was like, what?
Can I Kick It was one of the big songs, right?
Yeah.
So that's what kind of sparked the idea for them. So the way it was explained to me was that this was one of the features that they wanted to talk about in the presentation.
Right.
And they thought it would be really cool to tie in a DJ playing 90s hip hop on vinyl, because there's this 90s. And then my 5-minute thing was going to segue into the dude talking about, hey, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out August 2023. So.
Yeah, so I just did it like 2 weeks ago. I DJ'd the thing, and they were like, yeah, we want to hire you to come play 90s hip hop for a kids event. I'm like, what? And they go, we got to make sure it's all clean, which I was like, ooh, a little tough, because I was never on radio. I don't have clean versions of any of this stuff, you know, so I had to search and shout to, you know,
borrow
different
records and
but it was so much fun. I think I played for an hour or hour and a half. It was somewhat short for these kind of sets too, and it was right before the movie. But I took all the songs from the movie and then mixed them with songs that we know are in the same vein that also would be fun for kids, and, you know, Naughty by Nature, and just like you said, the Skee-Lo stuff, like stuff that's fun, and it was cool. I got to have my wife and kid there, and my kid standing next to me. I'm playing Das Effects, you know, remix, and he's like, what song is this? You know, and I'm like, so I got to, in a way, teach him. You could see all the other dads and moms that were there that were like, oh, I like this song. I remember they were looking at me like, oh. But it was cool, and I watched the movie, and like the whole soundtrack. The movie was hilarious, actually. I was so impressed. It's actually good. Like Seth Rogen did it. The writing was good. The voices were good. It was really funny. Like so many 90s references. So like for us to watch it, it was like, oh shit, this is great.
Like a throwback.
And then all the soundtrack, I couldn't believe they licensed all those. You know, I'm playing Ante Up like at a kids event. I definitely did not think, you know.
The clean version, of course.
With all those dope sounds in it, though. I remember hearing the clean version of Ante Up when it came out, and I was like, oh, that's cool. They put those like DJ Primo, even though I know he didn't make the beat, but a lot of people thought he did.
Tone, or like,
they would do that weird sound.
The curse words,
pretty dope.
That's dope. That's crazy.
Oh, that's so funny. So cool connection.
Yeah, totally, man.
They had. I recorded my mix too, and because they were like, that was dope, so I ended up recording it and making a private link on SoundCloud, and I sent it to the people from the movie, and they were all happy, you know, afterwards. But that's so funny. Yeah, I mean, and I had this kind of conversation after that. It's dope. People our age or into our type of things are now in charge of things like that.
They're at the top level. It's crazy, right?
And so they will bring us in for that kind of thing. So the kind of things that when 20, 30 years ago we're like, oh, I'd never get hired for that. I'm a hip hop DJ. Now those people are in charge, and they're bringing us in, and it's so cool. And we're able to utilize the skills that we practiced and developed so long ago and bring it in, you know, and I'm up there doing doubles and
totally. It's nostalgic for them, and it's fun. They want to make it fun too. You know what I mean?
And then we're able to teach the kids, and that's what we keep talking about this episode. But, you know, that's what you do, and that's what, you know, you're building this whole army of amazing, you know, children who, and just people, and not even just kids, but I guess DJ school scholars,
aspiring
you know,
DJs,
aspiring DJs that will go out and have amazing taste and know, you know, do it for the right reasons and learn from the Beat Junkies, you know, the top people to learn from.
Thanks.
So
yeah,
that's so dope.
Teaching's great. I was just talking about this the other day. I actually just finished an online course, a 6-week course called Intro to DJing. It's a course that we've taught in person at our school.
Okay.
The Beat Junkies Institute of Sound since we opened the doors.
Right.
But we, for the first time, we offered it online. So I was kind of like the guinea pig. I stepped up and taught.
Okay.
So this course met.
I saw you guys do the promo. I don't know if that was the promo video from it, but it was really funny.
Yeah,
it was almost like a Wes
the,
Anderson
right,
movie
right,
or
right,
something.
Kind of like in that style.
Like Rhett Maddock was like a cardboard cutout and he's falling over it.
Yeah.
That was really good. I don't know who made that, but I was like, this is like movie quality good.
Thanks. So yeah, it was that course, and this course met every Saturday at 11 a.m. PST for anywhere from an hour to 2 hours.
And met where? Like Zoom?
Virtually. So we have a private platform, and
so you have like a system you use that, not Zoom, but like your own private
it's a platform called Teachable. And so we created like our own custom page. It's basically similar to Twitch, but it's more kind of like geared towards like teaching, whether that's a cooking thing or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Wow, how cool.
Construction, or like in our case, DJing.
Okay.
So I finished teaching this course, and I was telling our students, so it was 5 weeks of instruction, and then this past Saturday, we call it kind of like the course final.
Yeah.
We basically, it's an intro to DJing, so we talk about basic music theory. We talk about kind of the equipment. The first class, week 1, was just like a really extensive overview of Serato. So it was a lot of screen sharing and like showing them how to set cue points, loops, being able to kind of like identify what is what.
And does that curriculum come from your guys' experience of what you developed for the school and what you've learned works or not in person, and then you've brought it to the online
it's
version?
Our unique curriculum that we've all kind of like, contributed to over the years.
Right.
And just kind of refined year after year.
Because I'm sure it's hard to even figure out how to convey. I've done some private DJ lessons, and I felt like an idiot at first because they'd be like, well, how do you do this? And I'm like, you just put your hand and do your hand, and then I'm like, I can't even explain this.
Right.
And I'm like, you just go like back and forth, and then I'm like, fuck, I need to actually think about how to describe it. I'm like Googling like how to describe.
Right. So I was just going to get into that. It's funny you bring that up.
It's hard, right?
This course was 5 weeks of instruction, and then the 6th class, which was this past weekend, last Saturday, was them. They all have to submit like a 3-minute video of them kind of like showing what was taught, what was covered.
And is there a certain amount of people in the class?
Yes, there was
like you had to cut it off at.
No, it was a small group. I think it was eight of them.
Okay.
And so,
but could you have like, what if 100 people signed up? Like,
then we would have had to break it up. We would have to break it up. Yeah.
Because you do individual, like you're like, hey.
So we posse up like in the Zoom chat. Like we create a Zoom link.
Right.
And so,
and you can personally help and talk and give feedback to each person.
Right. Well, this is just for the last class.
Okay.
The first 5 classes are me kind of just like on Twitch. It's like me being streamed on camera with the overhead.
And they're taking notes.
And they're just, but we have the live chat. Like I'll stop.
So they can ask and be like, wait, what happens if the needle explodes?
Like, and I always like tell them like, there's no such thing as a dumb or silly question here. It's just a safe space, like ask away. You know what I mean?
So
Don't be bashful. So, but the last class is where we meet up on Zoom. We give them a pack of like a what do you call that? A Dropbox link of like 10 records, right?
Right.
And they have to basically transition from record A to record B. And then they have to transition from record B into a drum break, a break beat.
Okay.
And then they have to execute no less than an 8-bar scratch solo, just using 2 techniques that we've taught, which are the baby scratch and the release scratch, right?
Right.
So all in all, it comes out to like a 2.5-3-minute video. But they send us these videos, and then on the final class, we watch them one at a time, and then we offer them feedback. You know what I mean? We talk to them about, we just dissect the routine. You know what I mean? So at the end of this last class, getting to my point, I told them that it's just as fulfilling for us as instructors, because prior to us teaching, I know for us, speaking on behalf of the Beat Junkies, these are things, and you can probably attest to this, like whether it's something super technical or a scratch or the way you came up with to kind of cleverly transition between a record, these are things that we've never had to or even cared to put into words.
Right.
Once you start teaching, you have to really, really sit down with literally a pen and paper or open the notes page on your phone and begin to articulate all these concepts that we've been executing for decades, which was like the biggest challenge. But in doing that, that has made us all better DJs, because even from the most rudimentary things like a baby scratch, which is just 2 motions, a forward and a back, to something a little more advanced or complex, like maybe what I do on IG. It's helped us understand what we've been doing all these years.
Right.
I'm dropping not on the 1, I'm dropping on the 2 and.
Yeah.
1 and 2 and on the up.
Oh, right.
Little things like that we never thought about.
Never would I be able to even explain that with the 2 and. You're right. In my head, I know I drop it a little early or in between the 2 beats, but I can't ever explain that.
Right.
Oh,
so
wow.
and it's made us better DJs because now it's like when we're doing, I know what I'm doing.
Know what you're
I can
doing.
explain what I'm doing. Right. And going back to a funny story, I had a similar experience years ago in Vegas. This is like 2008 or 9. There was a guy, Matt. He played for what's the UK soccer, the soccer team? He played for the English soccer team. I forget.
Arsenal.
But anyway, he played for the team for England soccer team.
Manchester.
Maybe it's Manchester United. Yeah.
Manchester.
But in his
City.
off season, he had a property in Vegas in Summerlin, and he would come to Vegas to chill for like 2 months, right?
Right.
And he used to come to Body English like every weekend. Like if he was in town for like 10 weeks or whatever it was, he would come every weekend. So finally, like his second season, we got friendly. He would come in the booth and hang.
Yeah.
He was like, "Will you come by my house and teach me how to DJ?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'm down." So I go to his house in Summerlin, and he has 2 turntables, 2 techniques, and I forget what kind of mixer. It was a decent enough mixer to where I should be able to teach him, and I did the same thing. I brought over like 2 copies of Rock the Bells, and I'm trying to just teach him how to scratch, and I couldn't explain it.
Right.
And he gave me like $200, and I felt so bad. I was like, "Dude, I can't take your money. Like, just whatever. Let me get this figured out, and I'll come back." I never went back, but I was like, "Wow, I can't even explain this, man. Like, this is wild. I've been DJing for like 20 years, and I can't even like explain the most basic thing. Like." It's
because we learned a lot from either studying visually, like the tapes, VHS tapes, or just hearing. Like I would just listen to DJ Premier and try to make the sounds of that he would do on the record, or Babu on Dilated Peoples or whatever, like over and over and over. Like, how can I do it? And then I'd get close and I'd start figuring it out. But I almost didn't know what I was doing, even when I figured it out. I just knew in my head how to move my body that way.
Right, because it was all instinct.
Yeah,
right? It's all rhythm. It's all muscle memory, mechanics. You know what I mean? Just flushing those things out. You never think about having to explain it or put it.
But
into
you're right.
words.
There's like ways to do it, and more now people do want to learn. I mean, now you have the school, so I'm sure you've learned. But I mean, I got I got a pretty dope job last year where I got called from Happy Madison Productions, and they were like, "We're doing a movie that has a DJ in it, and it's coming out actually, I think in a week." Or so. It's called "You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah," and it's Adam Sandler's kids, his daughters are in it, and there's a bar mitzvah DJ in it who's like, he's hilarious.
Over the top.
So they brought me in to teach him how to DJ, but more I did. It was funny because I went above and beyond. Like I showed up with a pair, CDJs and a 900, a S11 and 2 turntables, a Rev 7, all these records, computers.
Right.
And then he's like, "I only have like today, and I got to fly to Toronto to film tonight." So I was like, "Okay, I don't think I'm actually going to teach you fully how to DJ," but I did a mix of teaching him the basics, and then also I saved a million funny videos of just everything from like Steve Aoki throwing cakes in people's face and EDM DJs doing the hand movements. And I just showed him to real shit, and I was like showing him everything. But
So
I basically got a job to teach this guy how to do it, and then he went and filmed the movie, and it's coming out. It sucks because I was supposed to do the premiere with him, and me and him were going to do it together. He was going to fake do it, and I would really DJ the movie premiere, but it's canceled because of the strike.
Oh, right. I got to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, the movie comes out, I think. I just saw the trailer last week, so they said it's coming out next week, but it looks really funny.
Okay.
And
dope.
definitely a lot of DJ little references in there. And but same kind of thing where I was like, "Oh my God, number one, this is so amazing that this is my job. I'm getting paid to go do this. It's the most fun thing ever. I'm in Adam Sandler's office. I'm looking in his, where he jams out with his band, and it was so cool.
That's cool.
But also trying to learn how to teach at the same time. I was like, oh man, it was it's a struggle.
Yeah.
I've talked to Revolution about it too. I know because he does his thing, and
he was on the pod a couple years ago.
Yeah, he was on the pod, and I've seen what he did at Scratch Academy and now his own thing and stuff. So and he explained to me having to figure out how to teach, you know, and just it's like learning a new language in a way.
Totally is. Yeah, you have to be able to put everything into words.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, that was, I mean, you know, I had written down like some other stuff like that. I was saying that, you know, you seem very happy as a person and as a DJ and all that. And I think all the Beat Junkies members in a way give off like an aura of like calm and satisfaction in a way, and sort of knowing where they're going, you know, having a direction. And I was wondering if you thought like teaching and the school brings that out of you guys at all, you know, or what fuels that sort of calm, happy satisfaction that you guys give off in a way.
No, that's fair. No, teaching, and I never would have thought this. I don't think any of us would have thought this, but it definitely contributes to all of that. I think it contributes to our mental well-being as far as DJing is concerned. You know, it is fulfilling because when you do see, it's like seeing a kid like go to Disneyland for the first time, like just that that look on their face. Like, so seeing a student, whether they're a small child, a young child, a teen, or a young adult, or even someone, we've had students that, you know, they're in their 40s, that they were DJs in the 90s and then life took over. They had to, like, you know, put it aside for a number of years, and they never lost their love for it. So they came back. But when you're showing them these things, even at a very, very basic level, and it clicks for them and they get it, and you see that look on their face and like, oh, well, I think this is right. And then like, it's just like, it's like that feeling of like you it's almost like you share in championing that moment with them. Yeah. Because it's just like, you feel like you've learned it too. Like, right. You know what I mean? So it's like, to be able to share in that excitement is like, it's ultra fulfilling, and it feels really good to be able to kind of share and like not let our guard down, but like, we come from that era of like, you know, battling and being very competitive and like keeping all of our best secrets guarded. Like, I'll show the homies, but I'm not showing DJ Spider. Like, nah, be like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, this is my genre right here. But now we're in this place where it's like, no, like, we want to share. Like, we've like, you know, curated this kind of method and the style of DJing that we do probably doesn't get seen a whole lot anymore in 2023. So, you know, we're appreciative of people that come to kind of learn that. And then of course, like, on top of like playing a room and, you know, programming a set and all that stuff. But it is very fulfilling, to answer your question. And it does contribute to, like I said, kind of like our mental well-being as far as like DJing and being a DJ.
Yeah, because I think something you see in the DJ world, I'm sure in all industries, but I noticed, just because probably I'm a DJ and I'm around all DJs, is that people tend to get pretty bitter and jaded and kind of like, oh, whatever, like, I don't care anymore, or that sucks, or everything sucks, or closed-minded and just sort of bitter on everything. And when they're just DJing just to work and they're not doing what they want to do exactly. You know, you see so many older, bitter DJs, right? Or like all the interaction online and stuff. And I feel like what I've noticed among people who give back, do things that are giving back to the community or teaching or something like that, I don't know if that's the key to life, you know, to like to being happy, you know, but there's something to that, right? Where like
totally
teaching and pushing it forward. And yes, you want to keep your secrets that you develop, but at the end of the day, we don't know how long any of us will be here, what sort of things are going to happen. So you want it to live on through other people, and then those people will take it and transform it into something that we never could have imagined. But I think that's something, as I get older too, I'm realizing, like, you know, having a kid and stuff, is that when you're passing things on to other people, that gives you this feeling, you know, giving away gives you that feeling of happiness, and rather than keeping it inside and then being all bitter, like, I don't know, you know,
bitter Bob,
bitter Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the answers, but like I said, I feel like that's part of it. But I feel like for me personally, it's a combination of things. You know, I'm happy, I'm content, like, with where I am in my life. Like, as a DJ, you know, I have a beautiful family. I have like a very, very loving, supportive wife that's just like rode it out with me, like, since like the mid 90s. You know what I mean? Like, she's seen all the highs and the lows. Like, you know, I've had ultra success and like been like at a plateau, and then I've been like at rock bottom, like no money, flat broke, like taking out money from my credit card to pay the mortgage back, like when I left the radio and I was in between jobs. So I've kind of like, you know, ridden all these peaks and valleys. So, but yeah, just obviously having the love and support of just like, you know, the community. Like, you know, I'm blessed to be part of a brotherhood, which is my crew, the Beat Junkies. So like, I just feel like I'm just blessed. Like just to just have all these things just like kind of just line up kind of perfectly for me. I know that, you know, obviously it's life and things could go one direction like at any given minute, but for the time being, like life is good. You know what I mean? And
that's great.
And I'm grateful for it.
I mean, speaking of that, like, you know, I was going to ask you about being a father and a husband and like how you balance that with being a DJ, you know, and not even just being a DJ, but what you, Melo-D, run your career as well as the Beat Junkies, you know, with the school and all the different things you guys do. You're constantly doing a lot of different projects, you know. So yeah, like any, you know, successful tips on having a successful marriage or dad life or any of that, you know, like it seems like you guys get along pretty good and you're making it work.
But we're I mean, at the end of the day, like just to keep it 100, we're a married couple, so it's not like every day is perfect.
Hey, I'm with you. I know. I'm going on, I mean, it'll be 15 years married next year with my wife.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
so
16 this year for me.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, I understand. But yeah, I mean, I think that, it seems like you guys are pretty, I mean, you have 3 kids, right?
Yeah, 3.
So,
so I feel like it's a couple of different things. It's, you know, and this is something I've kind of learned recently, is I think just being there, being present, you know what I mean? Even if it's for 12 minutes while I'm taking my kids to school, like, you know what I mean? Instead of like them being on their, you know, electronics and me like listening to something on the radio, it's me just talking to them about whatever, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of making those memories, you know, no matter how small or how extensive, things like that. I feel like, you know, hopefully when they get older, those are the things that they'll remember, you know what I mean? Because I know that I have memories of growing up and driving with my family, my sisters and my parents, and I couldn't even tell you where we were going, but I remember like a funny moment like that happened in the car, or I remember maybe we had to pull over on the freeway one time because my sister was car sick and she had to throw up and we all made fun of her, like, you know what I mean? But it was all like a family thing, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like, you know, again, that's just kind of like some of my takeaways from my upbringing. So I'm trying to just kind of be, I guess, that kind of dad, you know what I mean? And then same thing, like as a husband, I feel like it's the same thing, you know, obviously like reciprocating like with my wife, like supporting her. Like she works very long days. She's an urgent care physician, so she comes home exhausted, but she's like, I call her like super mom, super wifey, because she'll work 14, 16-hour day, come home, you know, unwind, get ready for the next day, go to sleep at like midnight, wake up 5 a.m., go to yoga, go straight to Costco, buy groceries for the house, you know what I mean? Come home, fix dinner because she's got to go back to work the next day. Like she's like, she's just always just like on the move. And so like, I feel like, so like a good example, last weekend, we don't get a chance to go out too much anymore just because life is busy and the kids, they always come first. But one of her friends was DJing. It was like the first time she was actually doing a DJ set. It's at this bar in downtown Fullerton. So she's like, can we go out? So little things like that, like just like having a date night, even if it's like doing something like that, or just going like around the corner to have a bite, like just her and I, you know what I mean? Like just like kind of like making those memories and spending that kind of time with her, which was another thing going back to Twitch, which was really cool. It was never intentional for me to pull her into the channel. I literally brought her in because once I saw how Twitch worked, I was like, in my head, I'm like, I can't do the kind of DJing I want to do and look at the chat. Honey, can you come in and just
so
like shout
good
these
at it, though.
people out?
She was a great host,
So it was kind of like accidental the way it happened. And then like, get her a mic. Because at first she didn't have a mic. So like, get her a mic. So I went out and got her a mic. And then she becomes part of the thing. But above and beyond that, like what I told her, like after we did it a few times, like, it was really cool because it was a way for us to kind of like celebrate music together. And we grew up like, we're from the same school. She's a little younger than I, but you know, she grew up in the 80s too, and she loves and appreciates all the music. And we've been down since the mid 90s. We've been together a very long time. So she's very familiar with like DJ culture, and like she can spot a good DJ from a not so good DJ. So she appreciates a good set. And so, you know, once we had kids, it became very difficult, almost impossible for her to come to my gigs anymore. So her sitting in the studio with me streaming was kind of like a way for her to be at the gig. So it was like, you know what I mean? So it's cool in that sense. So, but going back to your question, so me trying to reciprocate with her, like even if it's her, like, you know, oh honey, can I go? My girlfriends are having a dinner. Yeah, go. Or like they go out to like a concert. They went to watch John Mayer at the Hollywood Bowl, but they turned it into a little staycation for like they stayed 2 nights at a telly. And I was like, I got it, go. You know what I mean? Like so stuff like that. But then, you know, in between like those moments, there's struggles, of course, that come with like being married. There's stresses and everything, and you just got to try and just like, you know, take a deep breath together and just like work through it. You know what I mean? And a lot of that is communication. You know what I mean? I feel like is very key. But again, this is just my humble opinion, my experience, you know, as a father, as a husband. But obviously, like, and it's funny. And I tell her, like, I don't know how it is for you, but I feel like, you know, if we have a little or we have a disagreement, or maybe like on an extreme day, like a bad day, like an argument, like, it takes away from my creative energy. Like, I don't feel like DJing. Like, I know. I don't feel like it. Like, oh damn it, I was gonna stream today, but you effed it all up. Like, thanks, honey. You know what I mean? Like, but it's just like, I mean, it's because I think I care so deeply for, you know, for her and for my kids, and like if that's not right, like, I can't do anything else, because it just bleeds over into my life. Yeah, you know what I mean. And so,
which is tough, because you just want to be able to, like, who cares? Get it out of your head. It doesn't matter. You
right,
know?
Right. Like, I've had gigs, like, you know, when I was doing Vegas and all that stuff, where like, you know, I would be out there and like, I don't know, we would have not even an argument, but like get into a little thing on the phone, and then I have to walk downstairs and like do the 2-hour thing and hands up and like, you know, confetti and like it's just like yeah. So
like feel like you're faking it.
Yeah, but like more as I've gotten older, it's just like, you know, I've really like just made an effort to try and just be present and just be the best like version of a husband and a father that I can be every day. And it's not always easy, you know what I mean? It gets overwhelming, obviously. And then it's hard, like trying to balance that, you know, being devoted to your family with DJing. Yeah. So one big adjustment, and this was a really hard adjustment for me to make, was when we had kids, right? Prior to that, you know, living as a bachelor, like having a 4-bedroom house to myself, having all the time in the world to practice. And I used to make beats and I would record mixtapes.
That's the thing. It's infinite, like that with the family. Because when they'll be like, when are you done? You know, and I'm like, never. I could do this forever. I could practice for that Kings thing for like all 3 days straight and never talk to you guys. But I need to like make a point to make time for you.
Right. So I came from this like world of, you know, it's all me. Like there was literally a mixtape I put out in the early 2000s called the AM Workshop, which was titled around the fact that I basically stayed up from like, you know, 9 p.m. till the sun came up working on this project. Right. And so, but anyhow, so I would work for like 8-9 hours, either practicing or recording or finding samples or organizing records or whatever. Right. Once we had kids, I don't get 8-9 hours straight anymore. No. It's pretty rare, right? Yeah. So I get 20 minutes here. Maybe like I get another 17 minutes here. And then like maybe like if I have the energy, like after everyone's asleep, I can practice. I can just lock in for a couple hours until I got to call at night because I got to wake up at 6
I was going to say, but then you're so tired in the morning if you push it too far.
Right. So there's like, you know, you got to like pay the price the next day sometimes. But that's probably the biggest adjustment I've had to make, like as far as like the life balance goes, like balancing the craft with, you know, your family and stuff. Right. And it gets hard sometimes because you know how it is. Sometimes like, if you know you've only got 30 minutes and you really like get locked into this one thing and then you get pulled away from it, it's like, oh man.
Yeah, like I was just getting
give
somewhere.
Me 5 more minutes. But like, no, daddy, we're going to be late. Boxing starts at 5:15, not 5:20. Let's go. Like, so, so just making that adjustment has been probably like the biggest challenge for me. But I do my best to manage, you know what I mean? And sometimes that means me not streaming on a Friday night so I can sit there and watch, you know, like a YouTube thing with my daughters, or like we can go to dinner, or and that's cool, you know what I mean? Like streaming will be there tomorrow. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like, you know, it's you know, 20 years from now, I don't want my kids to look back and be like, oh, we had the chance to go see the world premiere of like You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, but daddy wanted to stream. Like, and that's going to bum them out. It's going to kind of scar them in a way. You know what I mean? So it's just things like that. You know, it's kind of like my formula.
Yeah, I balance.
You know how it is, man.
I
like,
try to
preaching
do the
to the choir balance here. Like,
no, but I think it's good for other people to hear it too. And yeah, I mean, you could do whatever you want. You could be selfish or not. But exactly, I want to give him the best experiences while still do my own life things, you know. But it's a constant learning process.
Yeah.
But if you care about both enough, you make the time, you make it work.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like sometimes, like I do get the selfish moments. I have another project that I'm working on, but like those can be long days, and so like, you know, at the end of a long day, I'll come back home, I'll be hungry, so I'll just pull over just quietly by myself, sit down, get something to eat, have a beer, catch up on emails, and then I'll come home, you know, sometimes midnight, whatever. Right. My kids are at the age now where it's like they kind of know, like maybe they hear me come in, I don't know. But the next morning it's like, Daddy, what time did you come home last night? Where were you? Like I'm getting like, you know, the third degree, and I'm like, oh, I was out, you know what I mean? Or I was out with so and so, like, but hilarious. I'm here, like, let's go to school, like, you know what I mean? So like, but the things like that kind of send a message to me, like, oh, okay, you guys are seeing all this now, like you're at that age now, so I got to be extra careful now, you know what I mean? Because like I just, you know, obviously I love my family, as do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like, I think it's okay to like, you know, everyone needs time for themselves. So like to make those little audible plays and have that selfish couple hours to yourself, I think is okay. But just as long as you don't make it a habit of it to the point where they feel neglected, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
That,
but like I stayed in New York for an extra day and told them I'm just doing it for me, so I don't have to like rush and fly back right at the last second and be so tired, and give myself a little time, meet up with some friends out there, and everybody needs their own time, you know, no matter what. Otherwise, you're not even fun to be around, probably.
Yeah. And the kids do too. Like my kid, my oldest, he's 13. He wants time with his homies, and that's him. Like he's into gaming, and he throws on his headphones, and it's just like I could be screaming at him from down the hallway. He won't hear me. Like
I know, same. Fine. I got him the Beats Fit Pro things, and now he just puts those in. He's like on Fortnite
in his own world,
and I'm like, yo, hello.
Exactly.
I know. I get it though. I'm sure we were like that, you know, with whatever we were doing.
Right. Totally.
Oh man, I mean, I've wrote down so much stuff. We could go on forever, but I know we've been talking for a minute, but I also got some questions from the internet. So like, why don't we hit some of those, and then if we wanna, we could go back and talk about some other stuff if we still have time. Cool. But the man himself, Shecky Green.
Shaq.
Yeah, shout to Shaq. He just wrote in a couple things, and he said, you guys should discuss the inception and the legacy of DJ AM's favorite, Gamblin' Pete. And I know, I mean, that's the other thing. I know you're super into beer. Like, you're always up on some crazy beers like Kevin Scott. You know, you guys are the beer aficionados. And poker, I mean, you're huge in poker. I mean, to the point where you were in what World Series?
No. I mean, I'm not huge. Like, I'm not anyone notable in the poker community, but I
mean, you're good at it and you play a lot.
I've gotten better over the years. I've been playing a very long time. Yeah. So Gamblin' Pete is I put out a series of scratch records in the late 90s, early 2000s, and this is back in the era when Qbert wasn't putting out records under the name Qbert. He was putting it out under an alias. So we all, like all the DJs, D-Styles had an alias.
Right.
DJ Babu, he had an alias. He was the turntablist. So Gamblin' Pete
was my Super Duck break.
Right. So Gamblin' Pete was my alias to release these scratch records. But like Gamblin' Pete is kind of like an alter ego, because I've always ever since a young age, I've always been into games like card games when I was growing up, Monopoly, and then like through college, like we would have these poker nights like once a week with the homies, just playing for fun for nickels and dimes, and maybe you win a few bucks, maybe you lose a few bucks, and then I got into poker in the late 90s, and I got sucked into it. I just like for anyone that doesn't play or isn't familiar with the game, it's a game played with a deck of cards, a standard deck of cards, 52 cards, and your object is to make the best 5-card poker hand. And you don't play, this is like the one game, if you ever go to, say, a Vegas casino, this is the one game where you're not playing your money against the house's money.
Right.
You're playing, if I'm playing at a table with DJ Spider,
you're playing against
Steve
people
Aoki,
at the table.
You're playing at your opponents at the table. And the dealer is just there to deal the cards and control the game and collect a rake for the house. That's how the house makes their money.
Right.
But the game itself is so multi-layered. On the surface, yes, the objective of the game is to make the best 5-card poker hand. But there's all these other moving parts that if you really, really want to learn and be good at, you have to study and you have to pay attention to. Things like, even little things like, let's say DJ Spider sits down at my table and right away he asks the dealer, what's the game here? What do we are little things like that, like, okay, like I might not know who DJ Spider is, but I'm gonna like listen to what you're saying, and I'm gonna watch you talking to the dealer, and in my head I'm gonna be like, okay, this guy doesn't have very much experience, right?
Or he's making it up.
The dealer tells DJ Spider, this is a 2-5 no limit game, the minimum buy-in is 300, the max buy-in is 1500. DJ Spider pulls out his wallet, 300. DJ Spider doesn't pull out a wad of hundreds. DJ Spider, that's an example.
Yes.
I'm sure I know you got a wad of hundreds.
I got wads, baby. No.
But I'm saying
everywhere I look. No.
Yeah, to get my point across. Maybe DJ Spider pulls out a few 20s, 2 10s, and 5s.
Right.
So DJ Spider didn't come with a bankroll.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
So like these are things like, again, like the little things, the little nuances you have to pay attention to. And then the game itself, again, is just so multi-layered. There's so much psychology. There's math behind it. There's things like bet sizing. There's things like position, who acts first. Whoever acts last in the hand has the advantage because you get to see what everyone else does in front of you. And a common mistake that a lot of players make, and I was guilty of this for years, and you see it a lot now, not so much now, but you see it more now than you did, say, 10 years ago, is that because we live in the generation of iPads and iPhones, like in between hands, like if DJ Spider doesn't have a good hand and he folds, he picks up his phone, and maybe Spider's on his phone for the next 19, 20 minutes. Finally, Spider puts down his phone, looks at his cards, sits up a little more straight. Okay, Spider has a good hand. You know what I mean? So like you have to pay attention to all these things, right?
The little tells.
And then there's little things like poker tells, right? Which are like somewhat reliable, but you have to be careful about how you navigate through those too. But anyhow, poker is just, to me, like I love the game so much. And then obviously like you're playing for money, like real money, right? Yeah. There's things like tournaments where you pay like a flat fee, $200, and in this tournament maybe you won $20K or the jackpot or whatever, the first prize at the end. But the games that I play, cash games, like we play for money. Like each hand is played for hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? And you have to manage your money. Like it's not something you don't want to ever, let's say if you have a bankroll of $10,000, well, you don't want to put that entire $10,000 in a bigger game. Like you want to be able to like afford yourself, say 20 buy-ins. So maybe you want to sit down in a much smaller game where the max buy-in is 500. So that if you lose that 500, maybe you pull out a second buy-in and you continue to play, or you just call it a day. So there's a lot of discipline. There's money management. Again, there's all these things that go into it. But again, these are things just like DJing. Like, you know what I mean? You have to spend years and years and years, and you have to study. And there's like, it's cool. Like in 2023, there's like DJing, there's poker podcasts. There's like poker live streams on YouTube where like they'll, you know, kind of take you through each hand, and there's commentary like from like expert, like very experienced vetted players that will like analyze the hands perfectly. You know what I mean? And you can just, there's all these resources and tools to where if you want to improve at it, you can. You just got to practice, you know what I mean? So, but anyhow, that's been a long time passion of mine. So it's something that I love to do. I don't get to do as often as I used to, but that's where Gambling Pete comes from.
Oh, that's so funny. And I know AM used to love poker, and I mean, I'd be in these poker games with him and Aoki and everybody, and the money would get crazy, and I'm like, I don't even know how to play. I'm about to just get killed right here.
So a funny story, the very first time I met AM was at the Commerce Casino here in Los Angeles.
Sounds about right.
I just had, this was like, I can't even remember, this was like, this is still big AM days. So this is like 2001 or 2, I feel like.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact year, but I just happened to get up to go get something to drink. I'm walking through back to my table, and he comes up and just steps up to me. He's like, "Yo, Melo-D." And I was like, I looked and I was like, I kind of did one of these. He's like, AM. I was like, oh yeah, because I think I met him at Fat Beats like briefly, like in passing before. And so we had like a quick conversation, and he was like, yo, and I'll never forget his exact words, like, yo, man, hip hop DJs and Hold'em, man, let's go. Like, it's dope. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, oh, cool, man. And this is like when he was starting to do kind of like some of the Hollywood clubs, and he was catching buzz behind his name.
Right.
So that's how I remember like my first meet with him was at the Commerce Casino. Cool. It was so funny. And then, rest in peace, man. He was such one hell of a guy. And I wasn't even like what I would consider like one of his closer homies, but like I know that he was such a fan of DJ culture, and he loved and appreciated.
Oh yeah,
it
he
all
held you
from,
in
like,
such high regard.
Yeah, no, just everything. He loved it so much. He loved turntablism.
Oh,
He
yeah.
appreciated battling, and I
it.
mean, shout out to him, man. Like R.I.P. But and I've told the story many times, and I'll tell it to the grave. But he ushered me into my first residency at the Hard Rock. Like he paved that way for me.
That was
You know
at
what I
Body
mean?
English?
Body English, yeah, in 2006.
Yeah, no, I remember I would go see him there and Vice there and you there.
Yeah.
And it was just
He
mind-blowing.
opened that door for me. And that partially came about because in 2005, my now wife, she was finishing up medical rotation, one of her last rotation in Vegas. So I used to go out to see her every weekend. And I had just started working at 93.5 K-Day out here in LA with a mutual friend of Adam, of AM's and mine. And so she was like, you should connect with Adam when you're out there. He's at this club called Body English.
Oh, wow.
And so I would message him, like text him or 2 a.m. or whatever it was back in 05. And I was like, yo, Daniela told me you have this residency at this crazy ass club. And he's like, yeah, you should come through, man. It's banana. You know how you talk. It's bananas. Yeah. You got to come peep it. And so finally, after like 4 or 5 weeks of this, I was like, all right, man, I'm coming out. I messaged him, I'm coming out. I was like, yo, he's like, yo, bring some records. Like, you got to come by. Like, come and rock for a little bit.
Some records.
So I walk into Body English. And again, I'm coming off of like battling, right? I've done like clubs, but the clubs I was doing were more like, 200, 300 people. I'm playing like hip hop and R&B, some classics, a little bit of funk and disco. I'm not playing big room. There's no like confetti going off. There's no Cairo. I had never seen any of this.
Right.
So I walk into Body English. It's just this epic room, it's just packed. Like you could just feel the energy. He's smashing it to pieces, of course, right? Like every record he plays, the way he drops it, he's just owning the room.
It was unreal. It was like life changing. You'd go in there, and his booth was like a bird's nest, kind of like looking over everything on that second floor. And there was like you could hang out up there too, but also when you look down, it was just all the people and those little dancing.
Yeah, they had like little go-go boxes where the girls would get up and and the dance floor was just like
and
a nice
he would
dance
drop
floor.
every genre of music in all his signature mixes and rock into hip hop and people just losing their mind.
Yeah, and he
skills.
was on Serato too.
Yeah.
So I show up with
the beginning of Serato.
Yeah. I show up with this crate of records, right? And like whatever, I'm bringing records because you asked me to, but like he's in there just getting busy, just destroying it, right?
Yeah.
So he's up there rocking. We say what's up. So I'm just railbirding. I'm just like watching the show the whole time. He's like destroys it for like an hour, takes off the headphones, turns around like, you ready? I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do after all this? Like you're like quick mixing. Like I'm over here flipping burgers. Like I brought actual records.
Yeah.
So I played for like 45 minutes and it was a lot of fun. It was cool and everything. But I'll never forget that night. It was kind of like it took me back to the very first time I saw a DJ. Like it was that impactful to me because the very first time I saw a DJ like with Techniques 1200s, Newmark and the lights and the Trussell and the Sherwin Vega, it just like, it was just such an experience. And it was so similar, like watching him do that on Serato and play, like just masterfully weave in between all these genres. Like he was playing rock and like some 80s and he was playing a couple new hip hop things. And then he was like mashing stuff up. He had like his Sweet Home Alabama and like everything was just, he couldn't lose.
Yeah.
He couldn't lose. Like the guy just couldn't lose, but he was like all the credit
every
in the world
time
to
you
him.
thought like, he would always just have all types of extra stuff he's throwing in there. You're like, oh, well, I didn't even think about that, or that weird connection, or wordplay, or the way the drums went under it, or he's just scratching the song in the middle of it, but it works perfectly.
Yeah, it was so dope, man. He was just he was just
crazy.
so ill with it. So yeah, and then fast forward like not too long after that, maybe less than a year. He, I think he had the offer over at Pure. Right. They were gonna the grand opening of Pure at Caesar's Palace. Yeah. And so he was gonna be leaving, and so he put in more than kind words for me, and they gave me a few tryouts. I remember I had to show up 3 times and rock for a little bit and kind of give them a sense of what I sounded like. And and big room DJing again was a brand new thing to me, so it was a big learning curve, right?
Yeah, huge.
I wasn't playing Beyonce and T.I. I was playing like Mos Def.
Right.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
same with
like
me.
That.
That's why when I went in there, I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I think I could do this, but this is so different.
Yeah, it was so different. But like you said, like words back earlier on, like I was up for the challenge. Like I wanted to do it and like to be a part of that. I was like, well, this is a whole new thing. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, shout out to AM, shout out to Dig Dug. The whole crew over there at Body English, Andy Hirsch, Corey, all the OG fam out there. Vice, like the whole squad. Five, exactly. Homicide, yourself, we all. And he opened that door for all of us.
For everyone, and he cares about it. I mean, think about in Jazzy Jeff when they were doing the Rain, Palms thing. Like when he would get an opportunity or if he could put people on, he did. I mean, that's how I got any of my stuff, was him putting the good word in for me or saying, oh, I can't go to Dallas for this Absolute Vodka event. I'm sending this guy Spider. And then I go, and then next thing I know, it leads to this and this and this. And same Pure Vegas. Like I got to open for him there. He says something. Next thing I know, they offer me a residency, at Pure Vegas and Tangerine, at wherever, Treasure Island, And so that wouldn't have happened without him for me as well, so. Sure. It's not many people like that have existed over time, in the DJ world. I think.
He was so selfless and just so giving. Well, he didn't have to be, you know? And I think it's because like I really felt like, again, I wasn't super tight with him. We started to kind of get close, like when he brought me into Vegas and stuff. But I feel like it was because he loved it. He loved the culture. He loved the art.
And not a lot of music. Not a lot of people had the power that he had in a way. Because it's funny, even nowadays, like people hit me up, yo, let me open for you or put the good word in here, and I'm like, I can't, even though I've been doing it, but you know how it is now. Like, there's so many companies and agencies and bookers and DJs, and I could tell someone something, but he was in such an amazing position to be in and a powerful position, and people just trusted his word, and he was just like the king.
But same thing, I feel like that. Looking back, was that almost 20 years ago, but like that level of DJing, like DJing in a big room like that for our style of DJing, I guess it's called open format now.
Right.
That wasn't a thing. Like it was like literally like a handful of guys that did that. There was a handful of nightclubs that did that in Vegas. There was like 3 or 4 rooms. It was Body English, Tao, Tangerine, and then Pure. Like it was like half a dozen rooms.
Totally.
And I think that had a lot to do with him being able to kind of like call those shots, like, hey, you need to check out this guy. You know what I mean? And now versus now, there's like probably 250, 300 rooms in Vegas.
Every
like,
city alone tries
to emulate
hundreds of DJs that are like super dope too, and it all are cut from that cloth now and have listened to podcasts and watched videos and YouTube and all that stuff. So I think it's just because like you said, we used to know everybody that DJ'd basically in that style. You knew every single person. You know, they'd be like, who should we bring to Chicago? It's like there's 8 people. You know? right. And now there's like 8 million different DJs. Every day I'm discovering DJs I've never heard of. You know, or I'll see like, oh, this party they did. Oh, they booked this woman and that guy and this, and I'm like, who are these people? I find their Instagram and you know.
And I feel like, I mean, I could be wrong because I've kind of stepped away from the industry, like as far as like big room DJing goes.
Right.
But I feel like we were fortunate too because we actually had, like, I had a weekly residency at Body English. I was there every Saturday.
Right, and that doesn't exist.
And then I started doing
anymore.
that. I was just gonna say, like, I feel like
the DJs that live in Vegas will be the resident, but it's sort of like to be the opener closer or maybe do some nights.
Or the support.
But it's not the same like where they used to. Even here, like there's some spots still to this day. I'm like, just have me every week. Like, why do you wait and then figure it out for the month? But it's there's just so many DJs.
Yeah, I feel like it's just like the pool is just so much more vast now. The DJ pool is so much more vast. Like even the headliners, like they might pop up, 3-4 times a year. You know what I mean? Like that's like a different sort of rotation, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, versus like, kind of that era we come from where it's just like, that was our room. That was our residency.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that was like
AM
our house.
Did that room. You did that room. Vice, every single week, no matter what, so Five, whoever. Yeah.
We were fortunate to be a part of that era. You know what I mean? Like that. I call that like the golden era of bottle service.
It really was. Yeah. And I mean, it's still going, but it's so different now. And
I bet.
I mean, even that was one of the things, I was going to talk to you about was DJing in Vegas and doing Body English and doing a place every single week where, you do that. On one hand, you're putting so much time into developing these routines that are exact, like you're saying, down to the millisecond, and down to each movement. When you do these clubs, you figure out what works, but you don't want to do the same thing every time. Like, how do you change it enough where the staff remains happy? And you remain motivated, but you still are giving people the thing that you were brought in for, you know,
Right.
and the people what they need and what they want to make it happen, which is sometimes narrow.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. I even heard you say, I think it was on Road, shout to Road podcast, that you had a pair of turntable or a whole DJ setup at the bell desk at the Hard Rock.
Yeah.
And you would tip the bell
give 'em,
bellman to bring it up to your room
Yeah.
every single time you checked in. I'm like, that's genius. I never
well,
thought of
at one
that.
point, I started to like as Vegas nightlife started to evolve, and the Hard Rock Hotel where I was at kind of started to grow with it. I went from doing one night to 4 nights a week in Vegas. I'm not 4 nights, but
God.
4 sets. So I was there like Thursday to Sunday. I pretty much lived at the Hard Rock Hotel.
That's
so I would
crazy.
They opened up a rock and roll bar, so I did that on Thursdays.
Yeah, I remember that.
I did like basically DJ Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday at the pool, Saturday night, and then Sunday night. So 5 sets over 4 days I was doing.
Oh my God.
And
But
so-
that's when Vegas was great too, like, because it could really support your life, you know, that was
Yeah.
like
And there was-
a good check, you know, for the year,
for
really.
sure. I don't know what the rates are like now, but back then, I feel like, you know.
But even
DJs
if the rates are similar or better, they're, you know, well, for some of the big, you know, ticket sales, EDM stuff, they're huge.
Sure.
But it's few and far between, like you said. It's not that weekly thing or the
Right.
5 days in a row unless you live there type of thing.
Yeah. But I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I used to, when I got to that point, I had an extra, no, it was one turntable and a mixer, and I would use the other side.
So
in
what, you
internal
just
mode.
drove it out there one time and then left
I
it?
brought it out and just left it. Yeah,
That's
and then I
amazing.
would just call down, like every time I would check in, they would bring it up. I'd give
so dope.
the bell guy $10 or whatever it was, and
That's
set it
great.
up. Yeah, well, just because, I mean, like to answer your question, like that was a fun. I'd be interested to hear your take on it too, because like when you're playing like an extensive set in a big room like that, in a city like Las Vegas, you're playing a 3-hour set.
Right.
You obviously need to stick to songs and transitions or things that work, right? 'Cause
Right,
your
you
job
know
is to
what
play
works.
the room.
And the crowd is pretty much 98% or more different people than the week before. It's just the same
It's
staff.
The weekend warriors, right?
So you want to like make the managers and the staff happy and not bored and like, oh, same old shit. And even
Right.
yourself. But you also know that you could probably do the same exact set every single time
Exactly.
and psychology-wise get the same human reaction from these things
Right.
you've developed in that work.
Right. So that's kind of what I did for the first, I don't know, probably year or so, just say, because it was comfortable, it worked, and I was like, in my mind, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And
Right.
of course, if a new song would come out that was big, I would figure out a way to work that in. And
Right.
then like, 2008, 9, pop music and those kind of Lady Gaga 115, 120 BPM records started coming in, and then house
Right.
music started coming back. So,
Yeah.
we had to bring kind of that into the fold.
Yep.
But yeah, for the most part, like I just stuck to what I knew was gonna work. And in the back of my mind, like I always felt bad because like, damn, they're gonna hear this same 40 minutes, but
Yeah.
guess what? Like the room's gonna go off. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're gonna keep ordering those bottles from you. Like you're gonna
I
get
know,
those same
I know.
tips.
So it's such
so
a-
you can't be too mad at me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you'd be more upset if I
Right.
went like left. Like, oh, I'm sick of
Yeah.
playing the same set. You guys are sick of hearing the same
But
set.
nowadays, I feel like they have like cards that every person in the club that works there fills out and like says what's going on. So it's like such a
ridiculous.
hard.
Yeah, that's like
thing.
that's part of the reason why I stopped. There was a few reasons, but that was one of them. It's just like I never had like
so many
a
politics
bad experience,
and
but
opinions.
yeah, but just like when all that came into play, just like okay, like you guys are kind of like where's my card to tell like to write up the waitresses?
Yeah.
Like, hey, like she came in a bad funky mood this night. Like,
Right.
where's my feedback card?
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
That is
like,
true.
let's
Yeah,
do a
we
two-way
don't
street,
get to give any feedback.
Yeah, but we got to take all the criticism,
Right.
right? And then if like
And
the
we're the
club,
main thing, so
right.
it's like they're gonna
so if
blame
the club
it.
has a bad night, guess
Yeah.
who's the scapegoat?
Oh, they played that song. It ruined everything.
Yeah,
It's like, okay.
yeah. This guy was ready to spend 10 grand on the Ace or whatever it was, and then Mello dropped, I don't know, the Little John song that he didn't want to hear.
Right.
So he just told me he was going across the street to Tangerine.
Totally. I still deal with those.
And he
things.
unfollowed me.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
but anyways.
Yeah, that's true. I know. I do some Hollywood spot now too, and sometimes it can be like, okay, this person's here, let's do this for them, or,
Right.
you know, whatever.
Yeah,
keep them
yeah.
happy so they're buying the bottles and
Yeah.
doing all that stuff.
It's a tough line to walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Kudos to you and everyone that steps up and does those rooms.
Yeah, you learn. All of it's a learning experience, and all leads to other stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing Sheck said was, how great is 80s electro, and why is it the greatest music of all time?
80s electro, I feel like is so special, and for a few reasons. Number one, it's very personal to me. It's very nostalgic. It was a big sound out here in LA. Again, all the love and respect and credit to the K-Day Mix Masters. They were the ones that kind of brought all those records, brought that sound like to the LA airwaves back in the early 80s. So for those of you guys out there that are listening that aren't familiar with what Shecky's talking about, 80s electro is kind of a sound that was inspired by groups like Kraftwerk, right? Tour de France. And they were these guys were experimenting with electronic synthesizers and drum machines in the 70s. And it was like kind of like early electro, early electronic music. And then when you had other people get their hands on these instruments, some guys Egyptian Lover made electro beats, like 808 drum beats with like synths behind it. But then you also had groups like New Order and Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark that also used the same instruments, but they would bring in a couple other musicians, like a drummer, maybe a guitarist, you know what I mean, and then a lead vocal, and they would create new wave music, right? So when we talk about 80s electronic music, we talk about, I mean, in my opinion, I'm talking about all those sounds, right? I'm talking about like the hardcore, like electro records, which are like, you know, Electric Kingdom, Jam On It, Nucleus, like that can be considered early electro. But I'm also talking about New Order, Depeche Mode, OMD, you know, any artist, any group that like kind of took that sound and kind of like to create their music. You know what I mean? So I consider that electronic music. And then that obviously inspired groups like Daft Punk. Right, that inspired groups like Empire of the Sun from Australia. Right, true. All that electro stuff, all the indie stuff that you hear now, even like indie groups like Foster the People. You know what I mean? They have these kind of elements of like you know, early electronic music. So I've always been a fan of electronic music, and you had like Roger Troutman, like Zap, rest in peace, like Vocoder. You know what I mean? You had like Vocoder rap records back in the day. Latin, what was it? Radioactivity. Let's jam. Let's jam. You know, Midnight Star, Freakazoid. Right. You had like stuff like that. Totally. I was just always just like obsessed, and like that sound was just always so infectious to me. So that's electronic music is one that's very near and dear to me. Yeah. Dope. I mean, from the early stuff to even, like I said, the modern day stuff, I'm still a fan like of all those groups, you know what I mean? Empire of the Sun, even like the newer school stuff, the stuff that's come out in the last decade. That's dope. No, it's a good way to put it. And that's a good sort of brief history, you know, roadmap kind of for you know, just the basis of it. Yeah. And shout out to Sheck. Yeah, Sheck's the best. I'll never forget, Sheck, I don't know if you saw this, but I got to tell this quick story. There was a night in Vegas after the club, and I just happened to open up Twitter, and there was something going on. I couldn't figure out what, but there was some sort of debate or conversation, and someone said something or tweeted something at Shecky that I guess could have been considered like a slight. And then some other dude jumped in the thread. It was like, you can't come to Vegas and talk to a man like Shecky Green like that, which is like a pull from like The Godfather. Like, you can't come to Vegas and talk to Mo Green like that. That's an older reference. I thought that was, I'll never forget that. That's amazing. Oh man, that floored me. That's the truth, like 3 a.m. That's the truth. Yeah. Shout out to Sheck. Yeah, Sheck's the man. And something I also wanted to ask you about, like the school and everything, is like, can you think of anything that you've learned from your students and from teaching the classes like yourself? I mean, I think you mentioned it, just the ability to teach, I guess, and the way to break down your own stuff. Is there anything else that you throw in there? I think it's made me a better DJ in that sense, and also to further that, because I have to be on point when I'm doing demos or like, you know, explaining a concept, and then, okay, guys, like this is what it looks and sounds like. I have to take the time, you know, to kind of choose what records I'm going to use to demo this. So technically I have to be on point as well. So it's like kept me sharp. Yeah. It's kept me sharp. Even if it's something like really simple or something like a little more intermediate or advanced. We have a class called the structure class, and I've done like a small handful of master classes where I'm showing more advanced things, you know what I mean, advanced concepts. But it's made me technically I'm probably the best DJ, and this is not a brag, like I'm probably the best DJ I've ever been in my whole life because of teaching. Yeah. Because I have to show up and just I have to show up and be on point, you know what I mean? So yeah, but that's probably be the first thing that comes to mind.
That's amazing. But then to hear that you feel like that in your life and it's your 50th birthday tomorrow, you know what I mean? Like that's so dope. You know, you're like at the peak of your skill level.
Yeah. Hopefully I can keep it up.
I mean, I'm sure you can. All right, let's see. We kind of got a bunch of questions, but I don't want to go on forever.
It's getting dark outside.
I know.
No,
sorry.
No, I'm good. It's birthday week. I can be here.
We got DJ Chub E Swag. He said you guys should talk about anything about the influence of Uncle Jam's Army.
Oh yeah. So Uncle Jam's Army is a little before my time, but Uncle Jam's Army is
I don't even know that much about it.
So they're a group. They were kind of like kind of the first super group of DJs out here in LA, and they were also they were putting out music, but they were more known for throwing kind of all ages events. So I was still a little too young to go to like a party in LA, right? Even though it was like an all ages thing.
Yeah,
I was probably. So Uncle Jam's Army is like early 80s, like 82, 83, like 82 to 85 to mid-late 80s. But you guys might know Dial a Freak, which is the Uncle Jam's Army, the Egyptian Lover. That's a classic record.
Yeah, of course.
But so they would put out music, but they would throw these all-ages parties where they would bring out like Egyptian Lover and like their crew of DJs, and they would just rock. They would throw like parties, kind of like the equivalent to what was happening in New York. But again, I was 9, 10 years old at the time. Like I'm not. There's no way I'm ever going to get permission to go to a party like that. But they were the ones that were kind of doing that, like kind of like pioneering and shaping the culture out here in Los Angeles, and like breaking records out here. Right. You know what I mean? And bringing hip hop and electro to the West Coast.
Yeah, I had Arabian Prince on. He was telling me crazy stories about.
There you go. He was there.
You know, I mean, I think it was all about that and that whole scene, and
I would have loved to have been a fly on the
LA
wall.
Convention Center and like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, they used to throw some big jams.
That's so dope.
For sure. Yeah.
Chris Villa wrote in and said, if I remember correctly, he would throw up the dub with his record hand while scratching on the Vibe Magazine TV show. Ask him if I remember that correctly. LOL.
I might have done that. Shout out to Chris, another dope DJ to follow right there.
Oh, he's amazing. I love Chris.
Yeah, Vibe TV was a talk show that I did, a late night talk show we filmed out here at CBS Studios.
So dope. I mean, it's crazy your history. Like, I know we've been talking for 2.5 hours, but I haven't even really. People can look you up, and I'm sure you've been on other things, but you've done so much. It's insane. Like, from just the most legendary radio stations to these insane TV shows with Quincy Jones and like Vibe TV. I mean. The DJ battles, the school. I mean, Beat Junkies. Like, your career is just unreal, man.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. Like I said, I never, again, whoever thought that hip hop would take it this far, but I'm still here. You know what
incredible.
I mean? And it's been just a blessing after blessing.
So you would do that on and that was the Quincy Jones show, right?
Yeah, that was a talk show that ran 5 nights a week on the UPN network.
Yes, UPN. I remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and we would film that right here at the CBS studios on Fairfax. I don't know if it's still there.
I think it
is.
But
okay, yeah.
That's why they do like Price is Right and stuff, I think.
yeah, exactly. All the game show stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. I might have done that, like throw up the deuces or whatever, like try and like
well,
do
Chris
something.
Remembers it.
Yeah, do something dumb for the camera. But I almost like didn't get that job. So my slot there was I was the DJ for the house band. So we were a 6-piece band, and they wanted to bring in a DJ. Well, they were auditioning a bunch of DJs. So one night on a Friday night, I just come home. I was doing 92.3 The Beat at the time. This is 97.
Right.
And I get a call from Eric Villa, the Baker Boys. And he's like, yo, Mello, he's like, we just finished doing this audition over at CBS for Quincy Jones and his partner. They're starting this new show. He was asking us about any other DJs. I gave him your name, your number. You know, there are people might call you. I was like, oh, dope. Thank you. Call me literally the next day. And they asked, like, can you come in today? Can you be here in like an hour? I was like, yes. So again, this is pre-Serato. This is 97. So again, I'm battling. This is like peak turntablism, peak battle era. I think we had just won a battle. We were about to enter a battle. So I bring like 5 of what I think are my best routines, and I throw in a couple of ultimate breaks and beats just in case I need a couple extra records.
Yeah.
So I show up, and I'm literally on the set auditioning for Quincy Jones and the band director Greg Fillinganes, who recorded, produced, played instruments for Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Legend.
Right.
I'm in the room with these two legends, super goats,
Ultimate
right?
legends, yeah.
Intimidated AF, right? And Quincy Jones looks at me, he's like, okay. That's all he says, and just kind of like gives me the. I was like, okay. I nervously like put on the records and the needle. I start doing like some of my battle routines, and I could just feel it right away. He's just not vibing, not into it at all.
I can imagine maybe it's like the music's getting chopped up in this weird way if you're not into scratching, and he's like, I make the music and it's supposed to flow a certain way.
Right. And I'm over here doing like pause techniques and juggling and scratching a little bit.
Right.
So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this isn't going well. And he says, okay, thank you. And like, as he's saying this to me, I'm changing records, and I just happen to pull out a James Brown 12-inch, the Give It Up or Turn It Loose. Yeah. And that was kind of one of my, like, I call it real-time routines. It wasn't where I was like, altering the tempo of the record. I was actually doing everything in real time, like juggling and like looping.
Because that's what I think for them, maybe the like how, I don't know, all over the place it is, maybe it's too weird or something.
Yeah, it wasn't as digestible.
Because I've done scratches. I've been brought in to do scratches on so many random things and like done it on rock records. And I remember these rock producers like, I don't like all the pitchy stuff you're doing. Yeah. And I'm like, that is exactly what scratching is.
Right.
But I understood what he was saying. He wanted it to be more funky and me to take the voice and be like, yeah, rather than like all weird, because to them they
sometimes
just hear a weird sound.
Like, people that aren't familiar with DJing, scratching, like it
doesn't sound as cool to them.
Yeah,
because
to us it's dope, it's sick because it's super technical. It's like, whoa, Spire just fucking did the 3-click, like 7-click
but
combo.
To them they were like, we just want to hear what it would be like to go with the music. It has to be more
palatable, I think, to like the untrained DJ ear.
Right.
So I'm like, literally, as he's telling me thank you, like, and in my head I'm like, oh damn, this is like not going well. Like I'm like, well, I already got one of the records out. Boom. So I pull out the other double and I go into like the thing. I start doing it, and now I can kind of feel like their attention coming back, which was like partially like them being familiar with the James Brown record.
Yeah.
And also them kind of like being patient with me, like this young, like 20-year-old kid, like, all right, let's just give this kid 2 more minutes, like whatever, like them being cool about it. And so I did that, and I went into like kind of the little 3-minute thing I had with that break, and it was just like using the drum break and doing some creative real-time stuff with like, kind of the meat and potatoes of the song.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I just ended it with just a cold, like whatever, stop. I didn't do anything. I just kind of stopped the record, and they were both like kind of like, you got the job, like on the spot. Gave me the spot on the job. So shout out to the gods, man, Quincy Jones and Greg Filling Gaines. And I wouldn't find out until weeks later, but there was like some other like super dope like DJs that tried out for that spot, and I just somehow again was right place, right time, fortunate enough to just land it. So that ran for a year, and so that doing that TV show and also doing the radio 5 nights a week afforded me my very first house.
Oh, that's amazing.
In the year 2000. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, and house prices have gone up since then.
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
A lot.
So yeah,
I look at Zillow and I'm like, damn, in 1999, this house was like $200,000. Right. Now it's like $1.8 million.
Yeah. I bought my first house in Cerritos for $275,000.
Yeah. Oh my God.
In April of 2000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's congrats. That's great.
Thank you. And it was funny.
Good way to use your money and think smart, I think.
Yeah. Shout out to my dad, rest in peace, because he was my family, and it was such a moment for me too, because I come from a family where, you went to high school, you got good grades, you followed kind of the traditional path. You went to college, you got your degree and got a good job that could support yourself and maybe a family in the real world. Like all my family did that. So that was the path that was kind of like decided for me. I went to like what you call a magnet school in Cerritos, Whitney High School. Straight bookworm, straight A student, valedictorian in my class.
I mean, it shows that you're very smart, studious.
At my moment.
But I think you have an amazing attention to detail. You know what I mean? Which shows in all of your stuff that every story you've told personifies that. I feel like, you know what I mean? Just your ability to see the details in everything and be so alert around you, no matter what it is. You know what I mean? So
thank you.
Yeah, I think that comes from your probably the bookworm stuff or whatever, you know, like in a way it helps.
In a way, it did to contribute to how meticulous I am, or I can be at times about stuff.
Yeah.
So then I went to college, and then I had started DJing in '87, so like 10th grade for me. And this is just, again, me like having the crate and a half of records that I had, listening, practicing, having one turntable, having a cassette player, whatever, like kind of doing that for a few years. And then in college, when I graduated high school, this is like 3.5, 4 years in. Now I was like actually getting pretty good at DJing. Like I could scratch, like the scratches that I was like, you know, killing myself, breaking my back to learn for years. I could do them. Like I could like kind of do some of what Joe Cooley and Tony G were doing. Like I could do a little bit of the transforming that Jazzy Jeff and Cash Money were doing. And now I was starting to get booked for like house parties and quinceañeras, and I was doing high school dances. And then so I graduate high school, I go to college, and for the first like 2 years of college, like I didn't pay attention to school at all. Like I was so just done with it, and I was so in love with DJing that all I did was DJ, and my grades started to suffer. And so like my parents and I, like more so my dad, and he was just him like really trying to keep me in line, like butted heads a lot. Like at one point he tried to like stop me from DJing and just discourage me because he was just, you know, like more worried for my future.
Of
you
course,
know what I mean?
But
I wasn't
it's crazy
making any
to hear
real
that
money
now, you know, but
So then when I get this job on the radio station, then I get this job as a TV show, and I'm able to like support myself, buy myself my own house. Like it was like the biggest deal to my parents. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, that was quite the moment. So I remember my dad, you know, it was a lot of money for me, like to be earning like at such a young age, you know, like to be like 20 in your early 20s and have like a 6-figure income in like the 90s was like, that was like, you're living pretty large. I was, you know what I mean? So my dad pulled me aside, and this is Gambling Pete. He knew about the break records. He knew I had like this love for poker and make these trips to Vegas. He pulled me aside. He's like, listen, son, he was just like, you're doing very well for yourself now. He's like, have fun with this money, but I don't want to see you piss this money away. Like, have fun, you know what I mean? Go splurge, buy yourself a new car if you want. Have some fun, but don't piss it all away. Like, I'll never forget that. And I was like, okay, Dad. So I did. I had some fun. I bought myself a new Ford Expedition, you know what I mean? And then put the money aside for the house, and the rest is kind of history. But yeah, again, right place, right time. You know, shout out to the Baker boys, Nick and Eric V, for giving me that phone call, and then of course Quincy Jones, Greg Fillinganes for giving me that opportunity. Yeah, for sure.
Is there any, like, I mean, you've done so much and you do so much. Is there any goals for the future or projects that you still want to do or you have on the books? Or
Yeah. I have one that I haven't really talked about, but it's a project I've been working on for the last 1.5 years with my partners, DJ For Real and D Styles of the Beat Junkies. We're opening a pizzeria. It's called Made from Scratch. It's in Redlands, which is in San Bernardino. It's further on the east side in the IE. But we have a really great concept. Mind you, we have zero experience in the restaurant business, but we've partnered with the right people, like 2 like world-renowned chefs. One of them actually won Iron Chef some years ago. So they're helping us out with like the menu design, like curating the kitchen, the flavor, you know, the style of pizza. Like, we've done like our due diligence as far as research, but we're projecting to open January of 2024. But again, this is something we've been working on quietly. But the concept is Made from Scratch, SKRATCH. Scratch is in.
Okay, I figured.
So our concept is bringing in, you know, music and DJ culture with, you know, a delicious pizza, creating kind of that environment, that aesthetic. So we're going to have like curated nights, like, you know, like DJ sets, everything from vinyl sets to like, you know, like an R&B brunch on a Sunday, and we've got some other things planned, like as far as like, you know, special nights. But we're right there in downtown Redlands, so I'll be making the announcement on my social media. So yeah, Made from Scratch, Redlands, California. So we're super excited.
I love to hear that.
Yeah, we're very close, but it's crazy, man. Like I've gone to like do things like for this project, like we had to go buy dining room furniture. We had to go to like the bar and nightclub convention for 3 days in Vegas to do research. And like, you know, we've had to go to like numerous pizzerias and sit down and try different like recipes and ingredients. And like, we've had to like buy kitchen equipment, ovens, and like building a bar. Like we're building custom furniture, building a stage, building a custom DJ booth.
Wow.
Choosing tile for the bathroom. This crazy, man. And then like with a restaurant, like this is another thing I'm learning is like, because you're serving food, like you have to be permitted, and all for good reason for everything. You know what I mean? With the city, with the health department, you know, fire department, we have to install like a fire sprinkler system. So, but coming January 2024, Made from Scratch.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's one thing I'm excited about. So yeah, looking to diversify a little bit, but still, like I said, still like, you know, integrating like DJing and what we do. You know what I mean? Having
that's great.
DJ sets there. So yeah,
my sister's a chef, restaurateur, you know, and like I've seen what she's built, you know, with her husband, and nuts, you know. They have a pizza shop. They have all kinds. They have so many places, but I mean,
they're doing well. Then that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing great. Like they have all of these places in Santa Monica and in Ojai.
What's it called?
Well, the whole their first restaurant was called Rustic Canyon.
Okay.
And then now everything under it's called the Rustic Canyon Group. But they have, I mean, and they'll partner with other chefs. So they have in Ojai, they have like a bakery and a Burmese restaurant, and then here they have like a Southeast Asian restaurant and these ice cream shops called Sweet Rose. This place Cassia, Southeast Asian. This place Milo and Olives. That's like pizza and pasta and salad and bakery stuff, and Birdie G's, and they have all these amazing
awesome,
like Rustic Canyon had like a Michelin star, like it's crazy, you know, super bomb. And I've seen them go through all that, been able to invest a little bit in them, and seen
it's
ones
crazy.
that have,
it's very expensive to do too.
It's nuts.
I got like all my Twitch bits writing on this one, so like,
all those Twitch.
You guys see a hype train popping up on my channel, please like
add into
every little bit helps
because things happen that you don't even predict too. You know?
Yeah.
It's a crazy business, but I think you guys are on the right track. That sounds incredible. I would love to go.
Yeah,
to that.
please do. Come and rock. Like we want all. The
JCO has a pizza shop too.
Dude, we ran into him at the pizza convention,
Gorilla Pies. Yeah, him and
right
his brother.
Here in Van Nuys, right?
Yeah, it's in Burbank, I think.
Yeah,
so
we ran into him at the
good. I need to
convention.
go. I should go on the way home today.
JCO.
Yeah, he's killing it.
Idea.
Him and his brother. His brother's incredible chef. Yeah. So good. And DJs and pizza. Let's go.
And we were fortunate too. We have a full liquor license, so we have a full bar.
Oh, that's huge.
So we were very lucky. We got our liquor license through the lotto system out in San Bernardino County.
Oh wow. Okay.
So we saved like a ton of dough, right? Because they're like liquor licenses are not cheap. Like a full liquor license, you know, beer and wine is like pretty reasonable, like definitely affordable. But like to go full liquor, like 47. Wow. Again, these are all things that I've learned like in this new space, like in the last couple years. So But I'm excited for it. Like I'm up for the challenge, and looking forward to.
I love to see how much you've diversified, you know, and done all that. And same with the Beat Junkies. I'm sure you guys probably never could have pictured that this would be your guys' life 20 years ago, right?
Never. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Teaching and teaching online and for sure.
It's so dope. I mean, you're one of the most successful, I think, DJ crews, collectives, and just the way you guys have evolved. But it's not like a massive one, like a union with some of those other crews that are like so many people. It's like you guys are this small group, you know, that's true friends, you know, and really built it from an authentic place and all added so much to the DJ culture and hip hop culture.
Thank you.
You know, that it's just
Thanks for saying that.
It's priceless, honestly, what you guys have done and where you are now. And it's not even the end at all. You know, there's so much more coming from it. So yeah,
we always look at it like there's no finish line. Like you know what I mean, and just keep going. As long as DJing evolves, like we're gonna try our best to be right there alongside of it. So
totally.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, I guess let me get a couple more little questions in there, and then we'll get out of here. But
there's some cold beers waiting in the fridge in the other room.
Yeah, we should crack those. If we crack them now, then we could record another 2.5 hours. But then I feel bad for Vlatz having to encode this in a video.
Poor Vlatz, like his ears are bleeding. Shout out to Vlatz.
He's sitting here like, why are you doing a long episode, bro? You've been keeping them an hour and a half.
It's my 50th birthday, Vlatz.
Yeah, come on, it's a party. Okay?
Consider this a birthday present.
We got mad gigabytes about to be.
This is definitely a good gift. Happy to be
good.
Here.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's a gift to me.
I love this, man. Yeah.
A couple of things I was wondering. I guess one thing a lot of, you know, certain DJs I ask them is like, if you have anything to say on it, is like your music organization process. Like I know you're organized with your records, but also in Serato or in your digital stuff. Like two things, like is that something you teach the students, and how do you approach that yourself?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We do teach the students kind of at a very basic level, because you know Serato, like, you know, it can get very, very involved. So I mean, we show them enough to where they can, like, you know, like I said, kind of set cue points, like, you know, like get comfortable, like setting loops, and then making crates, kind of customizing like their library however they want.
Yeah.
And then kind of like, you know, showing them the interface of Serato. So it's a lot of screen sharing, like, you know, kind of pointing out, okay, like if you guys ever have a needle issue, like this is the button where you can hit to go to internal mode. So stuff like that, you know, but as far as like library organization, that would be
just so you can be like in a good position to go kill any kind of party
just
or
enough
whatever.
to go for them to go play a set.
Yeah.
And for me,
well,
like,
what about for you?
My library's gotten a little out of hand the last couple of years. And I know everyone has a different approach, and I know I always feel like there's no right or wrong way. It's all about however any DJ is most comfortable and whatever's going to make them feel competent to the point where they know they're going to be able to execute the set to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
Like play it close to a perfect set, if that's even possible.
Right.
But for me, that's like with a Twitch stream, for example, right? It usually starts with me being inspired by one or two songs, and I'll start building a crate. Right. Okay. So if you were to open up my Serato, you would just see literally hundreds of Serato crates.
Right.
And they're all just labeled like Friday night stream, you know, July 2nd, 2022. Okay. You know what I mean?
Me too. I do a lot of those custom ones. That's why I really wish you could search the crates, you know?
I know.
I tell Serato that all the time.
But it's good. Like I actually like as overwhelming.
You can search it in Lexicon and then go back and find it. That's what I do.
I'm not even knowing.
I use Lexicon to sort of like organize and then be able to export to Record Box, and also it has different functionality that the other library programs don't have. But the fact that I can just search a playlist helps me so much, because
it's a big time saver, right?
Yeah,
like you don't have
it's
to,
crazy.
Like, create the whole like playlist from scratch again. Yeah. No, but if you were to like look at my my Serato library, it's it makes sense to me, but it's overwhelming to look at.
Yeah,
but it's helpful in the sense that, you know, I can go back to crates from 3 years ago. I still have some of my body English crates like in my iTunes.
That's so funny. Me too. I have my Pure. I got from when I won that contest with Mark Ronson. I had to go do sets with him around. Like I have those sets still from 2006, 2005, probably all the way back in there.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like I think
that's why people are like, why do you want to search your crates? I'm like, I got thousands.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's cool. Like it's actually healthy to have those to kind of be able to refer back to.
Yeah.
Because like maybe not necessarily every song from like a crate in like 2009 stood the test of time, but you can definitely pull a handful. You can pull probably like a good 15 or 20. You know what I mean? Like, yo, these still sound good. These will still work. You know what I mean? I can mix
either
these
routines, mixes, ideas, acapellas, things you forgot about, songs, edits, mashups, you know, whatever.
Yeah, things that you, like you said, totally forgot about. Like, oh, I totally forgot about this. You know what I mean?
It's because especially like in digital, it gets lost way more than the records. The records, at least you could dig through and be like, oh, shit.
Right.
The digital is just sometimes gone forever.
Yeah,
until,
that's it.
You know,
It's
just all text, so it looks the same after a while. You just fall asleep trying to look at it.
Right, right. But I do have kind of like maybe what every DJ has. Like I have a 80s hip hop crate, a 90s R&B crate, a rock and roll crate, you know what I mean, a classic rock crate, a neo soul crate, like all that stuff. But then I have all these Serato crates that are just playlists of sets, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
same.
It makes sense to me, but like to someone else, like, you know, like some of my homies that look at this like, damn, like Mr. Chalk, like he was looking through he's like, damn, you got a lot of crates, brother. I was like,
that sounds just like him.
I do. Yeah. I do a pretty good Mr. Chalk. That's what happens when you're 30 years deep with your crew.
That is a very, very good Mr. Chalk. What's up, brother?
Yeah.
And then what about like, have you been using Serato Stems?
I was when it first when the beta came out.
Yeah.
And then I
not as big part of your set anymore.
No, and it's not because of Stems. It's because the experience I had with Stems it was great. And again, mind you, I'm on a 2020 MacBook. I got like right after the pandemic started. So like April of 2020. And so at first, like it was working great. And then I noticed the more I used Stems, it would take longer for it to kick in. So I would hit the pad to mute the drums, but it might take, I don't know, 7 seconds.
Oh, what
You
the
never
hell?
knew it was going to kick in. So
That's
I feel like
weird.
it was maybe like a laptop thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe, you know what I mean? I need to upgrade, but I really, really loved it. I mean, I would love to be able to use it, but I know we were talking before we started the pod, but I need to get a new computer. My computer's not even that old.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It should work. I mean.
Yeah, the way that Stems, I think, is intended to work is just like you need it to be like in real time. When you hit that button, you need it to respond. Well, my computer.
Yeah, this computer does good. It's real time. Like, it's great.
Yeah, Redmatic and J-Rock, they have I think the same one you have, and
it's
I played
so
on
nice.
theirs. Like,
I mean, just one thing I love about it is even just DJing in a club, or I do this spot in Hollywood every week and like play, you know, a lot of Afro beats and disco and like every kind of music. And being able to cut the drums out is so dope. You know what I mean? Because I just cut the drums and you just have the bass, the singing, and the melody going, and then you just bring in some other break or drum beat or the intro or whatever, and it has such a different sound, and they're not like clashing. And
and
there's so much you can do
like,
with it. But
it hits like on a big, like on a dope sound system, like it just hits so nice. You know what I mean? Like
and even just lately, I was messing around because they have it in Serato Stem studio as well.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So I've been taking like disco tracks or different kind of jazz or funk songs that I think would be dope to sample or maybe turn into something that you could never do before. Then just exporting all 4 stems from that and then bringing it back in and then being able to come up with ideas.
Right. To make beats.
Yeah, to make beats
sick.
or remixes or up-tempo ones out of those songs that we could never do it with before.
That's dope.
You know?
Hell yeah.
And because you can also do that, just export it from your Serato studio and then just use it into
re-import, bring it back into the library.
Do some weird routine where you rebuild it,
drag
it
in. Yeah. It's crazy, like what we can do now, like in 2023 with this technology and like,
I know.
You know, just coming from the world that I come from, where it's like you didn't have the record, you didn't have the song. Sorry, buddy. You know,
totally.
And now it's like
exactly. You got to figure it
fingertips.
out with this drum break in the beginning or whatever.
Yeah.
What about like, is there any DJ gear that's come out that's like blown your mind lately, or that you really like using or want to use? Or
I got to shout out Pioneer. I haven't had a chance to use any of the newer controllers that they have.
Right, the Rev 7 is dope.
I've heard like that seems to be the consensus among the community. Like that's kind of the one.
And then the Cross 12 turntable.
Yeah. I saw your posted about that. I need to check those out.
Oh my God.
But I feel like they've you know, over the last decade, you know, there's always been like a handful of companies that have been around for years and years. But I feel like Pioneer, I feel like at this point, they've just been so consistent and they always deliver such a good product, whether it's a mixer or a controller or even the turntable. The PLX, I felt like if you can't afford or get your hands on a Technics 1200, the PLX 1000, that's kind of like the next best thing. So I'm always checking for whatever they have. Even their headphones, they sent me a pair of headphones that I've been using for the last few years. But they've just they always just like I can't emphasize enough. They just make good product.
Yeah,
like they're
I mean that's what I was saying. I was talking to Drew from Pioneer and I was talking to Cut Corners from Serato, and I was just saying that I feel like the partnership, you know, between them now that Pioneer, you know, owns Serato, and they merge, like they both have so many people that care about DJ culture at both companies and just want to make dope equipment and dope things and push the culture forward, that like it's a great partnership. You know, I think it's the best possible situation for what we could have gotten as the customers and the DJs and the people utilizing their equipment. I feel positive about it. I know a lot of DJs think, oh, they're just gonna make a monopoly and kill Serato, but I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, and you know, to your point, I think the quality of their product, you know, speaks to. I mean, I'm sorry, the level of connection that they have with the community speaks to the quality of their product.
Yes,
they actually care. So. They take the time to like call you or like invite DJs, like Serato will invite a group of DJs to the studio to show them and like get feedback, whether good or bad. You know what I mean?
They could have done so much already to this point of cutting out other companies or not make things universal or not updating or not continuing to support certain pieces of equipment, but they constantly do it because they know what's up. They know how we feel, and they're all DJs. All these people,
totally. So they have their finger on the pulse of like, you know, what's happening like with the community.
Yeah, totally.
So shout to Serato and Pioneer.
Yeah, shout to Serato and Pioneer
all day. Yeah,
for show. I hope that you get to be able to export from your Serato crates right onto a USB though, and just have that used on a CDJ.
I think it was you and Vice a while back talking about it. This is, I don't know, a year ago. You had him on the pod, and like I think at the time he was kind of just switching over to. I don't use Record Box. I don't play on CDJs. I don't do clubs anymore, like those kind of clubs.
Yeah,
at least. But Yeah, I hear what you're saying because you got at the time you guys were talking
but
about.
now I have to import it into one program, export it to another one, do a whole thing. It would be dope if now they're merged. If eventually I could just export it to my USB and have that work in the CDJ, or whatever other piece of equipment they come out with that reads a CD, that reads a USB stick.
I'm sure they'll figure that. They'll figure
for
it
sure
out at some point.
That's just
coming.
I'm putting that out in the universe.
Yeah, talking to you makes me want to like get CDJs and like maybe like get a club gig or.
You would have fun with it, dude.
I would. I would. I'm
It-
just so out of touch with like the music. Like probably the last like trap record I downloaded was like Bad and Bougie or something from like like 7 years ago or whatever.
Like the first Migos song ever.
I show up playing Make
I
It
feel
Rain.
you though.
Like,
I know. When I go to Vegas now and they're like, we want all hip hop. I'm like, oh my God. Like after the pandemic, it took me a minute. I was like, I gotta get back into it. Like now I feel pretty back and connected and knowing what's up, and I'm DJing every week. But it took me a little bit. I was like, oh, whoa, did I hit the wall? Like, am I old and I just don't know what's up anymore?
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, okay, back
mix.
to the research, and I know I know what to do.
Yeah.
And the new music's very microwave. It's like Premiere would say. But it comes and goes real quick. There's,
so fast.
There's a lot of great new music, but not a lot of it sticks.
You really have to dig. You have to seek it out. You know what I mean? Like, and that was kind of one of the reasons why I stopped doing like the big rooms.
Right.
Was just because it started to kind of feel like work.
Yeah.
As fun as it was, it just started to feel like work because music, to your point, it just comes so fast. And then if I only had, even during the busy season, if I was at Omnia twice that month, I would do a set on the first Friday of the month and then have the next 3 weeks off. And then on that fourth week, when I went to go do the next night, okay, I know there's probably 10 or 15 songs I need to have. What are they? Because I don't really listen to this stuff. I don't dislike it, but it's not my go-to when I'm driving around. You know what I mean? So I got to do my due diligence and roll up the sleeves and check the record pools and then find the dope edits and then work them in and all that stuff. It just started to be I just kind of outgrew it, I guess. You know what I mean? But
no, I feel you. Plus, you have so many other things going on that are taking up your time. You're not just only a club DJ, which I think you have all that other stuff. So
the balance that we're talking about earlier,
and you've sort of designed your life and thought about the way you want it to go, and I think it's going in that direction.
Yeah. So
and I think other people, it's hard. You can get stuck in just doing what life gives you rather than trying to mold it into what you want.
I make pizza now, so.
Yeah, from
no,
scratch.
I'm kidding. I'll always DJ.
You guys got to have turntables with the pizza,
yeah, we have some cool stuff in the works. Yeah,
I'm sure you're gonna. It's probably gonna be unreal.
Yeah, but I'll always DJ. I'll always go out and buy records. I have every original record that I owned. I always love music. That's just a part of me of who I am. So that's never going anywhere. I might not do it as much, or you know what I mean, as much as I'd like to sometimes. But that's just here to stay.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's amazing. Well, I guess we could go on forever, but why don't we get out of here?
We both have families.
Yeah. Gotta go say hi to my kid. I've been
kids
gone
are probably
for 4
blowing
days.
Us up on text right now.
Right, my phone has gone off. I haven't looked at it that much. But what about you? Have any kind of words for the people listening, or any other things you want to discuss before we get out of here, or just a kind of message to the DJs out there?
I'm first and foremost just a big heartfelt thank you to everyone that's just supported not just me but my crew, the Beat Junkies, over the years. Everything that we've done from competing to mixtapes and Gambling Pete records and scratch records to modern day streaming in our DJ school. We all really, really deeply appreciate it. It means a great deal to us, and we wouldn't be here without the community, the love and support of the DJs and the people, all the music heads out there. So shout out to all you guys. And as far as I don't know, anything else as far as a message? Not really. I think the one thing that comes to mind is kind of what we talked about earlier, not just DJing, but I guess whatever your passion is in life, whether it's DJing or tennis or video games or whatever it is, you really got to love it. And that's just kind of one thing that I've learned. Again, this is just me kind of reflecting, looking back, talking about the 50 years of hip hop. You truly got to love what you do, and I think that's a life lesson that I've learned. And it's not every day is going to be, you being in love with that thing. You know what I mean? You're going to have, your moments or whatever. But if you really, really love it at the end of the day, it's going to be very, very difficult, almost impossible for you to fail. So just stick with it. be authentic. You know what I mean? Don't ever be scared to be yourself, because I've definitely had moments in my career where like I've kind of like put myself in uncomfortable places, like because I felt like that's who they wanted me to be.
Yeah.
It's not because who I really am.
I understand.
And I think that's okay. I think we all need to do that once in a while to experience that and learn from it.
Of course.
But yeah, those would be kind of I guess the things that I would share with, like, you know, up and coming DJs and, you know, my fellow peers. And,
that's great.
Yeah.
Super
shout out
valuable.
to you. Shout out to Beatport. Thank you guys for today and for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
Dope. Yeah. And props to you, man, for just putting in the work on the pod, man. It's just, we were talking. Like,
thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it. I get such amazing, you know, feedback from people literally all over the world and DJs, and it's so cool to hear. And it's sort of like an educational thing as well. You know, it's fun and it's stories and it's just a podcast, but same kind of thing. People are like, I learned so much, or I get this from it, or, you know, I'm binging through these, and it's cool for them to hear us have these long conversations and be able to take whatever they want from it, you know? So it's fun for me, and I get to connect with all my people I look up to, my friends, and people that, you know, have inspired me, and I learn a lot from it, you know, and have fun with it.
Yeah, it's dope. It'd be dope to be in your seat someday, man. Maybe one day if I have time, I can.
Yeah.
I actually had an idea for my Twitch channel. I wanted to do a series called Heroes, where it's like me kind of pulling in like the guys that inspired me, like
that would be
some
dope.
of the guys from DM, just to talk to them about their journey and about their inspirations. And so it's dope that you get to do that, man.
Yeah, because you never know where the conversation's gonna go, or the things you learn, or you know,
totally.
all that.
I love it all, man. I try and soak up as much game as I can. So big shout out to Vlats for being a writer, for reaching over and giving Vlats
we gotta get a mic for you over there. We need Vlats's point of view.
Poor Vlats is on fumes right now.
I know, he's sitting here. He's like, kill me. No, we need to point the camera over there. DJ Melo-D, legend in the game. Thank you for coming. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy big 50th, you know, along with hip hop. And just thank you, infinite thank you to everything you've done for the DJ culture and the Beat Junkies as a whole. Shout out to all of them. You know, Rhett Maddock DJ'd my wedding.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that.
That's my claim to fame.
He told me. Yes, I remember that.
But that was actually amazing. But, you know, I love all you guys, you know, are just the greatest. Like, I want to come back by the school and stuff too, and
anytime
check everything
Open
out.
door policy,
you know,
for you,
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, well, let's go get back to our fams, and hopefully I'll see you out in the streets
for sure.
Okay,
right on, Spider.
All right, peace.
Okay, peace.
All right, what an episode! If you've made it this far, congratulations to you, because this is a big boy episode, baby. This is a big chunky one. This is you know, we're in the 3-hour mark right here. So thank you guys for tuning in. I had so much fun listening to him. I probably could have talked another couple hours, but we had to end it somewhere. And make sure you check us out. We're on all platforms. You could watch us. You could listen to us. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're everywhere. Make sure you rate and review the podcast. And thank you to Beatsource. Thank you to the whole team that's holding us down and making this happen. The 20 podcast is produced by Beatsource. Join us next week for more interviews as we discuss music that matters to DJs. I'm DJ Spider signing off.